series within the series. There's a series called Running of the Bulls. They have a California swing out here on the West Coast. And then also we have our AFT singles presented by Kicker Class. So that is the order they'll come to the racetrack, at least in practice and qualifying. Colby, how important is practice, especially some of these riders have never been here before?
Yeah, and I was surprised how many riders I talked to today that haven't raced here yet. So practice is pretty important here. Not quite as important as some other tracks potentially, just because everything changes so much as the night goes on. Qualifying, you obviously want to get a good spot. During the day races, like I touched on a little bit, very hard to pass, especially with the groove we had last year. This year, it seems like we've got more moisture in the track, so maybe we'll be able to move around a little bit more.
All right. They are asking me right now to have all the riders please exit the racetrack. We're getting ready to send motorcycles, so everybody that is out there on the racetrack, please exit the racetrack so we can get ready to start practice. That's the front straightaway from our drone cam right here, going up and above, so a little bit higher. It's a pretty symmetrical racetrack, Colby.
It is, and like right on the back straightaway, you really come out right towards the edge. And these tracks that don't have barriers, walls around the top ends of them, they can be a little bit tricky, a little bit mind-bending. We've got one that near my house in Illinois, Spoon River, same kind of thing, where just there's no barriers on top, so there's a crown, and don't go over the crown, but on the backstretch, man, you get right up on that top tire track where it's not packed in.
I believe a few riders actually dropped off on the back straightaway last year. I don't remember anybody going up over the corners, but it could happen. But I think I would rather go off a corner and try to slow down instead of hitting a wall or a guardrail or an air fence, though. I mean, it's for safety.
Yeah. And it's not, I wouldn't say this track's super easy to go over the crown, just because the banking, and it's about 9 to 11 degrees depending on where it's at. But I always enjoyed coming into the corner here, especially as the night goes on, because you can run way up to the top of the banking and you still got a comfortable feel.
All right, that's Colby Carlisle up here in the booth. Let's meet our third member of our crew. That is the hardest worker on the staff. That's Kristen Beat. She's down there with some fast guy. I can see him. Tell us who it is, Kristen.
Well, I don't know if I would say the hardest worker on the team, but this was definitely the hardest working rider out at Ventura. Cage Tadman. Cage, the feel-good story of the weekend, walking away with your first win in your first start. I mean, how many messages, how many calls did you come back and see on your phone?
It was crazy. I think for the next 2 days, about all day, I've been trying to reply to everybody and text everybody back. So it was a very good weekend, and I'm hoping this weekend we can try to do the same thing. If not, just try to stay consistent and try to do good in the main.
Cage, Colby and I were just talking outside of the TV truck. This is a big weekend for you. It's one thing to win on what you would maybe consider a home track, but it's another to come out and run in the front pack with the big boys. How have you mentally prepared yourself to be in this position?
Pretty much the same thing as I did last week. It's just kind of, I know I've ridden with these guys before. I know what to do. So if I can just keep my head down and focus, I think I have a good chance.
Cage, best of luck, and while he's here with us, guys, I also learned this week Cage is still a full-time public school student. That means Monday through Friday he's hitting the books, studying, going to class, which this sport is unique in that a lot of the riders do homeschool, so it is so impressive that Cage is still very focused on his education.
Yeah, it is impressive. He is a junior in high school. He's trying to figure out if he can make it where it's possible so he can graduate in December next year so he can ride the whole season with us in Progressive American Flat Track. He's not even sure at this point how many more rounds he's going to race this year.
Yeah, and we spoke with him earlier today. He's only got one race bike. One fully built race bike. The program this weekend, like Kristen talked about, it's extremely important. If he can do another solid performance, when you do good at your home track, it's almost expected a little bit. Not nearly. We didn't expect anything compared to what he did last week. That was so impressive. But coming out here to Ventura, this is going to showcase to sponsors what he can do, as this type of track is what we race on majority of the time.
Speaking of, he's got one race bike. He does have a stock motorcycle, too, that was in the van earlier today. He raced that one Thursday night at the Lodi Cycle Bowl, the big night before race, and then he raced last night at Cycle Land just down the road. And so he pulled that bike out and ran it through tech just in case anything happens to that race bike.
Yeah, just in case. And just learning a lot. The family is, when you become a professional like that, you've got so much to learn in such a short amount of time. And I feel like with him winning, everything got multiplied by 10.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just him and his mom and his dad, and he got a little bit of help last weekend. People were coming up and giving him some pointers. It didn't look like he needed any pointers, but bikes are on the track for the very first time out here at Silver Dollar Speedway, the short track up here in Chico, and it's the Mission Super Twins. They come out according to their point standings. Just come out here and check it out. Looks like they're kind of tiptoeing just a little bit. We're up here in the booth just kind of seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah, just a ton of grip looks like right now, and a little bit of stutter bumps, trying to get everything sorted out.
Yeah, look at the parity in all the manufacturers with the new rules package for this year. Yamaha, Harley-Davidson, KTM, Royal Enfield, Honda, and a Suzuki out there. And Kawasaki's down there also.
That's so good. It just, I didn't see that for a long time when I was racing. You know, a lot of the times it was just 2 manufacturers or 3 manufacturers, and now to be able to see that is awesome. When I turned professional, I think there was 59 people signed up for Hagerstown, and I'd say 55 of them were Hondas.
In the 450 in the singles
it
class?
was crazy. And then now to see the variety, especially here in the twins class, so cool.
Well, I think, you know, a lot of our sport is kind of monkey see, monkey do. What's working for somebody might work for me. So, you know, sometimes one brand will dominate for a long, long time, and then, you know, somebody will go out there and try something else, and then if they start doing well, you know, in the singles class, you had the Red Bull KTMs for a while, and then a few other KTMs started showing up. But, you know, it's pretty diverse, just like the Super Twins is.
Yeah.
Harley-Davidson riders, the 44 of Brandon Robinson and the 3-bike of Briar Bauman. They had a good run at Sonoy, a similar track to this, a little bit banking, maybe not quite the same shape though.
Yeah, and right now those 2 KTMs, top 2 in the free practice. Right now KTM would definitely be good out there just because so much moisture in the track, still a ton of grip.
So a lot of traction for the KTM is what you're saying? So Briar looks like he's pulling up, trying to get out of the way, and yeah, just takes a look down, making sure he's all right. I don't know. It's kind of a weird spot to see what's going on. Maybe just something wasn't comfortable. Maybe say checking something out. What do they have? They have something on their crossbar too sometimes, or?
Yeah, they've got data loggers and dashboards on their crossbars. They can look down and get some data on. But I think Briar he does that quite often, where sometimes in free practice he'll pull off or he'll slow down early. He doesn't always go through the full sessions, and you don't need to. Like a guy like him, he doesn't need to ride the full session, especially in free practice. You don't need to beat up on the motorcycle if the gearing's way off.
All right, let's check in once again with Kristen B. Kristen?
Just a moment ago, as Jared Vanderkoy exited the track, he stopped to talk with McGrath, and I said, what were you talking about? He looked a little frustrated. He says, the track is not good right now. That's all he said. He sped off. So I don't know if that's just Jared Vanderkoy or if that's paddock perception, but they're not liking the track out there right now.
Yeah, Kristen, I would have to say, if I saw anything, it just as a rider coming in, it just looks like there's a lot of little stutter bumps. I mean, you can see Bromley's back end moving around a lot. And with this much grip in those stutter bumps, if you do get kicked out, it'll grab you quickly. And you just see his bike bouncing up and down a lot.
It's Dan Bromley on the Suzuki, currently in the 8th spot in this first practice session. There's Justin Jones, the Raging Bull, Justin Jones, riding the First Impressions KTM. And this, again, for you folks just tuning in, this is our first round of practice. Mission Super Twins are on the racetrack.
And to go back after Kristen saying that, after what she talked about with Vanderkoy, I would say that Briar most likely ended up pulling off just because of the track conditions. He's very advocate of the track being good conditions for the riders. And right there, Justin Jones breaks loose, hits a bump.
That opens up the door for the 14 of Logan McGrain coming on through in the Ryan Barnes Racing Schaefer's Motorsports KTM. So it looks like another bike just pulled wide. That was Dan Bromley. Maybe he missed the groove down there because he gets back in line behind Justin Jones. On that Suzuki.
Bromley, one of those guys that will ride any track in any shape as hard as he can.
Take a watch the 91 First Impressions KTM. Justin Jones, the bike's bouncing around just a little bit. The back tire looks pretty low on air pressure, and it just kind of steps out right there.
Yeah, odd. He really didn't get on the gas too hard either. I just don't think the tire ever settled down. And he's got a linkage chassis where that shock's almost straight up and down too. So that could bring an advantage if the track gets rougher here tonight. But just an interesting, you can tell all these guys are being pretty timid right now. Fastest guy out there was the 91 of Justin Jones, though. I was talking to him. He said this week they figured out a lot with that bike.
And they did that at the Lodi Cycle Bowl on Thursday night. They had the Super Twins were there for the very first time ever, and they looked really strong. They figured out a lot of stuff. Andrew Butler got to spend more time with the 91 bike. Usually Andrew is, with Chad Coase, and he's with Evan Renshaw, but he had extra time on his hands there at the Lodi. And, that's why a lot of the riders run these non-AFT races to get seat time, to work on things, and to get their bike styled in for the big races. Up next, we have the running of the bulls getting set to go. And they are not all bull tacos this year. It is just a series they call Running of the Bulls. They're all 2 strokes. I believe they're from the 70s and 80s, but there are several bull tacos and Kawasaki out there, and a cow running with the bulls. You know, I mean, we'll see how it works. You can hear them, the 2 strokes are
Same
out there.
species, right?
Yeah,
Cattle?
same
Both cattle?
Yeah, exactly. So, again, $35, Ken Nito. 54 is Brian Berna. 74 is Dan McDonald. 82, William McDonald. 86, Robert McDonald. There's 3 McDonalds out there. Well, let's let you guys hear them. This is the 2 strokes. This is what flat track used to be a long time ago, so we'll let you listen to them. Here they come. Two-strokers on the racetrack right now. It's the running of the bulls. There's actually 4 McDonald's out there. I said 3 because 3 of them are in line with their number, but one of them also has number 2, so must be a family affair out there.
McDonald, not McDonald's, which came here from California.
McDonald's from California? Who told you that?
Netflix, the
All
Founder movie. Great movie.
If it's on the internet, it has to be real.
We got to smell these last night, man. There's just a feeling when these things roll by, just an instant look at the guy next to you and say, man, that smells good.
We went to Cycle Land last night. Had a good time watching some good racing. A bunch of different classes ran last night. Got a little battle going on, the 54 and the 5 right there. 54 is Brian Berna. And the 5, Brandon Weller. Brandon Weller was on a different... Oh, Dan Cahoon puts his hand up having an issue. But, yeah, that Brandon Weller right there had a good run last night in a couple of the other classes. And that 92 is Jonathan Schaefer.
Scotty, if I get my numbers mixed up tonight in this class, if I just say McDonald, I've got a 33% chance I get it right, or 25% chance I get it right.
That's the Arizona State math coming in right there.
That is.
Right?
It's been a while.
When did you graduate?
Last May, a year ago. Probably next week or something.
Wow.
Good time.
So you're like a grown-up now.
No, well,
And you're getting married this year.
yeah, that's grown up.
That is September the 6th.
That is.
Are you going to stream it for everybody to watch? Or
We could, yeah, we can get an announcer in there.
that would be fun. Do you know of any of them?
Last night we were sitting, Scotty and I, quick story, last night Scotty and I were sitting at the stands in Cycle Land, and just kind of being an announcer, you kind of just talk about what's going on. So we were kind of fake announcing what we were seeing, and this kid sitting next to us looks over at me. He goes, man, that guy should be an announcer, talking about Scotty. And I was like, yeah, he should be, shouldn't he? He's good at it.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
And we were actually in the pit area grandstands too. It's not like we were in the spectator grandstands.
Beautiful voice.
Where?
Well, they don't see our faces. We got face for radio, right?
Yeah, my dad has told me that my whole life. You believe that? He did. He has.
Lead the 5th.
Exactly.
Here we go. Some AFT single action.
Single cylinder motorcycles on the racetrack. First round of practice is what we're looking at out here at the Silver Dollar short track.
Tom Drain elects to let Chase Sadoff go by to check the track out. Tom gets a little bit of an advantage being able to talk to Dallas about what they saw. I am curious what these riders are thinking about the track. It's starting to run in a little bit.
Now it looks like a few of them are dropping to the bottom, some of them running up high. Chase Sadoff on the 88 bike. Got the red fenders on the bike. That is a Honda.
Oh, man.
Rick Ware's colors were the orange, white, and black. They put the red fenders on there, so we definitely know it's a Honda.
Yeah, Chase almost just tested out that crown going down the back straightaway, got loose stuff dug up. The track definitely has a lot of little stutter bumps, little chatter bumps going on around it.
It's a car racetrack typically, so that relates, I guess, to car racing.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. So when I was out there earlier, just before practice started, they had dug it up, like I'd said, and then they were wheel packing it back in. But when they were wheel packing it, it looked like what you're seeing here with these motorcycles. It was just constant little stutter bumps, and I was surprised because I would have thought it would have rolled in really nice and smoothly, but right now we're just got some stutter bumps, so I'm not sure how that'll develop throughout the night, what kind of track prep they'll do.
And that is a part of our sport. You have to keep up with the racetrack from the moment you go out there until the main event. And like at Ventura, especially like last year, the track changed from the very first lap until the last lap of each main event.
Yeah, and this track does too, and Chase Sadoff elects to try at the bottom that time, just searching around, trying to see. Last lap around, he did make a bit of a mistake coming out of 2, got the thing really sideways, hung out, tries to go to the bottom here, just trying everything out with practice sessions, you know, and the track being a little off, these guys can play around a little bit more.
The 21, Trevor Bruner just takes a look over his shoulder right now. Sadoff at the top spot, 17.198. That is a half a second faster than the Super Twins. The track has to have some more time on it.
And these bikes just have more suspension, and with those guys not feeling quite as good. Here's a replay of Chase Sadoff coming out of turn 4. Getting a little loose, yeah, grabbing some traction there, and the suspension unloading, giving him a little bit of wheelie, but Chase, no fear there, just keeps her going.
The throttle looked like he shifted gears too right there. So Bruner coming up the inside. Oh, gets it really. He's trying to have 2 saves in a row. He had the save of the year last weekend in practice. Ventura got up on the front fender, remember?
Yeah, that one he's lucky he didn't spin around backwards.
Hopefully his knee is all right from putting his foot down there. He was trying that very low line.
Track's tricky right now, definitely trickier than how we started off last year. I think it's got deceiving grip. I think at certain points it's very grippy, and then other points it kind of just dissipates.
You want to go out there and take a spin?
No.
Not right now?
No, we're working on plans, though. We might take a rip here in a little bit. Scotty's going to tune for me.
So the next race, we go to Missouri for the first time ever, to Lucas Oil in Wheatley, Missouri. And on Friday night, Steve Nace is going to have an amateur race. So we'll see that Friday night, Lucas Oil. You might race, I might wrench, I might announce. You never know what's going to happen.
We'll be there in some form or fashion.
I'm going to watch your phone and see how fast you get a text message from somebody in New York.
Hopefully they're not listening yet. But even if I did show up to race, it would just be more of a riding session. We got the paces all gone now.
There's Anselmi on the 15 bike. Justin Anselmi.
Watched his brother race last night.
He did good. He was charging through the field.
Man, it is slick. Yeah, you can see that at certain points these guys are just losing the rear end.
There is showtime right there. Hunter Bauer from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. So we have 3 countries represented in our singles class with Canada, United States, and of course Australia with Drain.
We were talking about this morning, Hunter Bauer just being really resilient, constantly getting in those main events. Just got to get that next step, get back into the top 10 and try to work its way back to the top 5.
It was about last season or maybe the season before that when he switched over to Yamahas. It seemed like it changed his confidence a little bit. He is one of the 9 riders that have made every single main event in the singles class, and he's one of them. Just hasn't had a top 5 just yet this season.
Yeah, him and his dad just trying to get that next little bit, trying to get that bike settled down to try to get him up into there. There's Declan Bender. Wasn't a ride available, so you got to make hay while the sun shines and try to go find something.
Well, he did that. When he showed up to Sonoy, he filled in for Chad Coase, did an excellent job on the first impressions bike. He went back to his motorcycle last weekend, unfortunately missed the main event. He's back on his motorcycle again here tonight. Stayed out here in California with the, oh man, Podorf just about comes unglued with the seat over there. So it's a little treacherous off of turn number 2. That was Reese Podorf. He got a top 10 last weekend.
Really impressive ride. We were going through the results this morning, and I was very impressed with that. His best finish, I would guess. And then right here we got a replay of that. Reese Podorf just losing it, just hitting a dry spot. Behind him, 94, Ryan Wells. I just saw Ryan in the pits. He invited me over to the First Impressions pit where they had just deep fried some fish. I ate this grouper.
And I didn't get nothing?
Well, hold on. So after that, Ashley Huppenbacher, Chad Coase's mechanic, said, hey, just so you know, that fish has been in the cooler for a week.
Oh, so
ice.
you might have to leave
That's
for a second?
what I'm saying.
Okay.
Scotty
you want to switch
be
seats?
Scotty might be doing a solo show.
You want to switch seats so you can get out of here faster?
We'll see.
All right, up next is our 3rd group. Right now, Sadoff quickest in this practice session in the singles class, 17.198. Shelby Miller, we had a good conversation with him last night from up there in the state of Washington. He's number 145 now, was 45 for a little while. He has Miller Tree Service, family business that they take care of at home. And then Jacob Lehman, who actually is one of the 4 riders to win in their series debut in Progressive American Flat Track. Jacob Lehman did that at Castle Rock. And then Mr. Steal Your Girl, 174, that is Ray Handy. We talked to him. We got to see the dog last night, Huey.
I just saw that dog, and it had multiple chains on. That dog's head is huge. It could have replaced the dog in Harry Potter.
It is a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wears gold chains just like Hardy does.
That's probably why its head's so big. It's used to wearing those chains.
And then Ian Wolf, the first rider that went to the High Line last year and gave it a run. That's also out there on the racetrack. And then we also have the 35 of Ryan Hyatt. Donaldson on the 134, Pacific Northwest guy. 101, Caleb Martin from Ohio. 249, Skylar Sintele, third-generation flat tracker. And Dominic DeMario, he's out here from California. Watched him grow up as a little guy up to the pro ranks.
These guys are getting the toughest track right now.
A little bit drier.
Yeah, drier. You see Jacob Lehman really struggling with it there, and then also Shelby Miller right behind him. I talked to Jacob earlier while we were going through the pits, and he's a really good TT rider. He said all the rounds he's planning on going to, including Peoria, but he said he's not planning on Sturgis TT right now. I said, you're a supermoto guy.
He can go out there and win it.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. So he said, he'll figure it out. But he lives down in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, I was going to say, he moved down to Texas not that long ago. So it is a longer haul from San Antonio to Sturgis than it was from out here in the state of Washington. So I bet, let's see, let's put Brad Baker on that. I know Brad's watching, the former Grand National champion, former factory Harley, factory Indian rider. He's good friends with Jacob. I bet we can talk him into talking Jacob into going to Sturgis.
I can't imagine it would take too much talking in.
We
just got to get the logistics down, I think.
Let's work it out. Let's get him a ride. Somebody can haul his bike for him, right? We can figure something out. Practice round number 1 for the AFT singles presented by Kicker Class on the racetrack. Jacob Lehman,
number 14 in qualifying, and he used to be number 14.
And now he's 114 as he sat out last year. To have a 2-digit number, you have to make a main event the year before, and to keep that 2-digit number, you have to keep making main events. And right now, like I said, only 9 riders have made every main event this season. Checker flag is out for Lehman.
It looks like the track right now has a ton of grip in spots. The way that Jacob's kind of dropping the elbow, it looks like the track will take everything you can give it. But I feel like there's also spots out there where it just immediately snaps and get rid of it. And that's why there's some violent, just breaks of the bike, the front end just trying to completely snap loose. Something you have to be very careful of. And these riders have done a good job at saving it so far here today, Scotty.
There's a stroll through the pit area. It's behind the back straightaway grandstands. Had some fun walking through there earlier today with the pit walk. We actually have 2 different pit walks we'll see. One of them here and one will be on the FS1 show next weekend. Check it out. People are waving at us. The single regulars are going back to their pit area right now. They kind of usually pit them according to the classes. They kind of spread out the classes just a little bit. Unless the class riders have a twin and a singles rider, then they get to go up there and be with the Super Twins class. All right, so round number 1 of practice is in the books. We're going to take about a 15-minute break from right here in Chico. You are watching the Silver Dollar Short Track. We'll be back with round number 2 of practice here real soon.
Hey fans, are you a contractor or homeowner who needs equipment for an upcoming project? Cresco Equipment Rentals has you covered with gold standard service to large commercial job sites, major events, facilities, and your projects at home. Cresco Equipment Rentals is the preferred company of Stanford Athletics for renting and purchasing superior equipment. Visit CrescoRent.com for cutting-edge equipment solutions and all your equipment needs. That's CrescoRent.com.
SBI Magazine is a free online motorcycle magazine featuring motorcycle reviews, industry news, product reviews, race reports, editorials, moto lifestyle, and moto entertainment. Visit us online at sportsbikeincmag.com.
Gotta have a lucky charm when you ride, right? Makes you feel safe and protected out there.
That's why I never leave home without a photo of the little ones.
Bracelet from my husband.
Oh. Lucky rabbit's foot.
Lucky rabbit named Swoot. It's Swedish.
That's a whole rabbit.
Named Swoot.
Well, there's really no need for a lucky charm when you ride.
Not when America's #1 motorcycle insurance got your back.
We're just going to ignore the fact that Carl has a rabbit.
Named Swoot.
We're going full throttle with Mission Foods. There's no holding back American flat track when you combine the fiercest dirt track riders and tastiest products. Fully loaded tacos, fast wraps, piled high nachos. Whatever you crave, Mission will help you be race ready with easy to make recipes that will take your race day to the finish line. Keep your racing delicious and enjoy all the mouth-watering action. Brought to you by Mission Foods. Too fast, too tasty.
Jostens is proud to be the official trophy of American Flat Track. Jostens also produces great commemorative race products for race fans. Please visit us at jostens.com to see all of our commemorative racing products. Racing is all about performance, speed, precision, and pushing the limits. Aeroflex brings that same mindset to liquid packaging with a design that's lighter, tougher, and better for the planet. Simply tear the tab, squeeze, and experience a better way to package liquids. The iconic roar of progressive American flat track rumbles into the diamond of dirt tracks. Watch the nation's top riders battle it out on the short track at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri, Saturday, June 7th. High-energy racing, a scenic campground, world-class facilities, and non-stop entertainment for the whole family. Kids 12 and under get in free. Don't miss this inaugural marquee event, Saturday, June 7th at Lucas Oil Speedway. Get your tickets now at AmericanFlatTrack.com.
And welcome back to the Silver Dollar Short Track, round number 5 of Progressive American Flat Track here in Chico, California. Up north in California, A beautiful day for some motorcycle racing. High today was about 73 degrees. It'll cool off a little bit later on down to maybe about 57 degrees. Doing a little track maintenance right now and just getting set to go for our second round of practice. For you folks that are new to American Flat Track, 2 rounds of practice, 2 rounds of qualifying. We'll have an open paddock area actually for you to go down there and meet the riders. And as soon as practice and qualifying is all done, you can go down there and do that. It's from 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock. The riders will be down there waiting for you in the pit area. Have you had to stroll around on the front side of the grandstands? You've been down the pits the whole time, huh, Colby?
I haven't, and that's one thing I need to get better at. I don't usually
experience it.
Yeah, I'm still in the racer mindset where just stay focused, stay in the pits near your bike, try to figure it out. I was over there, spent a lot of time in the G&G pit, just kind of half sitting on my old horse.
Did you get on it?
No. Felt the clutch, though, and just how good that thing would pull a whole shot.
That's why you led the first lap here?
No, not quite here.
I thought I got pictures of you leading here.
I was in second. The leader, I was so slow.
The leader was checked out.
I was going so slow. The leader checked out. I just had a fleet of them behind me.
Look at that. Johnny Lewis running the Caterpillar equipment. One of the sponsors of our partner of Progressive American Flat Track, and that's a Harley rake on the front of that. It turns the soil up and trying to get rid of some of the soft spots. It looks like they put some moisture back onto the racetrack, Colby.
Yeah, tricky. I just talked to a couple riders, and they kind of confirmed a little bit of what I thought it might be, where there's certain spots where there's a ton of grip. Just give it all it can handle, but then there's spots where you'll hit and you just lose it all, and that's where you're seeing these guys' bikes snap sideways and get those big moments where their legs kind of fly off and they just look completely uncomfortable. So right now, a little bit inconsistent of a racetrack. Going to get better as the night goes on. Typical for these car racetracks, just they can start off really grippy and then they kind of go away and then they come back later on in the night.
Well, I like that they're working on it right now in between sessions, continue to make the track better. And when the sun goes down, it definitely changes. We did see the high line, the very high line came in last year, and we had a lot of lead changes when we got into both main events.
Yeah, and these clay car tracks, you never know what you're going to get year to year. You could go to, say, a track like Rapid City where one year it's all over the place, and then, we race there during the daytime, completely different. You're on the bottom. Even throughout the day, you can switch. So hopefully tonight we get that same level of racing where you're just all the way up against the top of the crown. You're able to kind of slide job someone up the inside. That racing that we saw out of Sammy Helbert, Jared Meese, and Dallas Daniels last year.
Those were some of the leaders that we had last season out here. So the folks are just starting to file into this racetrack, Silver Dollar Short Track. This track is a co-promotion, and the track owners, Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson, and Colby Copeland. We'll talk to Colby a little bit later on during opening ceremonies. And again, there's a DJ on the other side trying to keep you guys informed of what's happening, but letting you guys know what's happening at home, watching in on FloRacing. It is round number 5. Up next, it'll be round number 6, a brand new track for us up in Wheatley, Missouri. How excited for you is that? I mean, it's not too far from where you live now.
No, it's probably 5-6 hours. Gonna download the track on iRacing, get a couple thousand laps in on the car, and maybe I'll just be a little bit better at announcing for that one, just because I got an inside scoop. I'm gonna pull one out of Aiden Roussevin's book where he's got a kid at home telling
you how to go faster. Yeah. All right, so they're doing a little bit more track maintenance than we had originally thought. We're gonna take another break here. When we come back, round number 2 of practice here from Chico. Welcome back to the Silver Dollar Short Track. Here's some more sights from downtown Chico, California. Up in Northern California, beautiful day out here. Sierra Nevada Brewery is here. There's a lot of things to go check out when you come up to Chico, California. Another cool thing to check out is down there with Kristen Beat.
Yeah, thanks, Scotty. We're out here in the fan zone, and this is James Monaco's Outlaw Kart. Now, Tim Essenson Racing has set him up big time with this amazing chassis, and I'm not sure if we're going to get to see it a little bit later, but here's a close-up look at what's going on in the cockpit for James Monaco.
Man, that looks like a lot of fun, Colby.
Yeah, I drove one time personally, and then I was talking to James last week about it, and he said with that, they had a Yamaha 450 motor in that originally. Then they put in that CR500 motor, and he says that thing vibrates so bad he goes cross-eyed.
Yeah, just trying to hang on to it. That's a handful.
Yeah,
so
and then he's got those hand controls in there. Really, really cool that he's able to still get out there and do that and feel the action of the dirt and the ovals.
He still gets to go race. Front Row Monaco, that was the name I nicknamed him.
Jimmy Speed, that's what I like to call him.
I like that one too.
Or son of an almond farmer.
Yeah, that's what Chris Carr liked to call him. Yeah, we had quite a few of them for him. James Monaco, he'll be down there during opening ceremonies is what we're hearing. Also, don't forget, get your Back on Track raffle tickets. I bought some for the brand new Arai helmet. Back on Track, helping riders get hurt in our sport. You can do that online as well. They've got some bike raffles that they got going on. You can get that year-round, but today's raffle that they're raffling off right here today as a brand new Arai helmet.
Right now it's a KTM 790, I believe is the raffle bike.
The motorcycle?
Yeah, I'm going to buy a couple tickets for that.
Then you might start racing again.
Nope. I won my first waffle.
I'm kind of pushing.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I might ride at Lima or Lucas Oil Speedway. I won a waffle for a 450 flat track bike, and that's what I'll ride.
Did you really?
Yeah, $100.
Nice.
I'm going to take my $100 bike, hopefully, to the podium.
All right. I heard Kristen Beat's got a question for you, Colby. Let's hear from Kristen.
Speaking of buying raffle tickets, looking for bikes, Colby was throwing around some suggestions for what is a 25-plus class that is potentially going to be announced later this season, I think at Missouri. Colby, are we going to see you back out on track?
Well, I got approval for Lima. So if you're watching right now, we've got approval for that. But we're going to be in Missouri, so maybe, but
pretty soon.
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks.
I don't know. We're not
Are you ready
anything.
for it? Are you ready?
Well, I said if somehow we can work our way into the victory, I'm going to have you come in and give me an interview. I don't know if we're doing interviews.
I think me and Scotty need to hold signs in the fan zone, like go Colby or Flying Tomato, or like we'll get some tomatoes. That'll be the victory celebration. We'll just douse you in tomatoes. We got to figure out some way to celebrate your return to racing.
Or you can smash some tomatoes like the watermelon guy does in NASCAR. You can
Ross Chastain. We'll pull a Ross Chastain with some tomatoes.
Yeah, I'm not burning the wall like that, though. That's what ended up that stopped my career.
Yeah, no kidding. So, yeah, going back to Missouri in a few weeks for round number 6 of Progressive American Flat Track. The night before will be a Steve Nace race for the amateurs.
Colby, so what bike would you ride?
Oh, I won this bike. Jake Lewis, road racer, he waffled off a bike, so I ended up buying a ticket, $100, and I won this KTM 450 for $100. So my $100 bike, that could be on the track.
Mission Super Twins rolling back onto the racetrack. On the left side of the screen, you can see the short track wins by Super Twins in the career. Chris Carr, Jared Meese, and Henry Wiles are all tied for the lead with 9. Look a little bit further down there. Briar Bauman has 7. He can move up to be a tie with Jake Johnson. And then there's Brandon Robinson sitting with 6. And this is a track that's very good for both, I would assume, Briar and Brandon Robinson.
I'm going to call it right now. That record will get broken this year. Very short track heavy year, and Briar being only 2 or 3, and the other guys being just a few off.
Man, you're calling that, huh?
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Briar Bauman, man, he's been on a roll lately on these short tracks, and Dallas Daniels and Brandon Robinson not far back either.
And there are 9 short tracks on the season. This is our 5th in a row. We have 1 more short track, and then we move to the Lima, Ohio National the last weekend in June for the first of the 2 half miles.
Yeah, a great variation of short tracks, too. It's not... When you say the word short track, obviously you think smaller size on the oval, but some of these race, like they did last week in Ventura, where it's kind of a cushion. Typically, Daytona's right around the bottom, really small, and then here you've got a track that races more like a half-mile car track, like Sonoy.
Sonoy, yeah, I would say it's more like a 3/8 or a half mile. So to me, this is a bigger short track. Last night was a true short track at Cycle.
Yeah, that was one where you don't even get the thing straight up and down. And Lodi as well, another small short track. I was introducing flat track to a few of my friends watching Lodi this week, and they said they were motocross guys, so they were very unfamiliar with this, and they said, man, these guys, they don't even get the bike straight up ever.
Yeah, you don't even get to take a chance to take a breath, and here it's hard to reach up and grab a tear off even.
Yeah, it is, and here actually on the back straightaway, you turn the whole way. It's kind of more of a D shape.
Okay.
This track a little bit. You're always kind of turning because you want to take the bike out as far as you can to get the best arc for the next corner.
And on the front straightaway, obviously you cannot do that because there is a wall, so there's a hard-to-find line on the front straightaway, but the back straightaway arcs a little bit so you can carry your momentum. As Trent Lowe looked like he was a little bit off the pace right there, maybe hooked his foot going into one. Looks like it kind of gingerly going through that corner.
Yeah, these guys are still riding a little bit on the timid side, trying to get the track worked in, trying to figure out the lines, the bike setup, trying to get as comfortable as they can. Chase Sadoff, and we got a little...
Let's take a look at Robinson right here. This is turn number 2. That's been a little bit treacherous. It's got a little slick spot right there, maybe a little dry slick spot when it's wet and dry. Again, they're just trying to get it figured out. That's Brandon Robinson on the Harley-Davidson number 44. He used to ride a factory Harley-Davidson, so it's a familiar steed to him. It's, more modern technology has been put into these bikes the last couple of seasons. Checkered flag is out for our second round of practice, and once again, it's Van de Kooi at the top spot on the KTM 17.699. When they come out, they do get a little practice start, and I think that's very important because, I think back to when I was racing, the only time you got a good practice start was race day. I didn't actually just ever go out there and go practice starting anytime. Did you?
No, well, you can't really replicate because you need a ton of room to be able to get these bikes up to speed, and the dirt surface is so different. And being a good starter, you could be a great starter at a track like Lima, where it's a lot simpler, where you just sit as far back as you can, dump the clutch in second, third gear. Where on a track like this, all the clay tracks are a lot different. I really felt starting was one of my strong points, but every track I went to, I knew how to change up, maybe a little more throttle here or a little faster clutch slippage here, and there's an absolute art to that.
What gear would you say they're starting in on these twins? Are they starting first?
I would start probably in second gear here. You're going to run third gear, and you start in second. Then you only have to shift up one time.
So you have to let off the gas once.
Yep.
Okay. That means you really have to slip that clutch off the line?
Yeah, I would slip the clutch way out always. I typically always started with a really low RPM. You'll see some of these 450 guys that'll have the thing banging off the limiter, whereas I would never get that thing above half throttle most of the time. I thought that was smoother. It's a lot riskier when you go that high of an RPM because you can break the back tire loose, and that's when you'll see these guys getting bad starts spinning. That 19 bike right there, though, that thing gets some good starts.
And that's Dan Bromley on the 62 Suzuki. Wife's at home this week. She's watching the kids. It was her birthday on Thursday. So I thought she was going to be on the California swing, but she had to stay home and watch the family.
A guy like Dan Brownlee just jumps up to 5th. Like I said earlier, he can ride absolutely any track, no matter the condition, just willing to adapt. An off-road guy, a really tall rider. James Ott gets a little sideways there, corrects it back in, but Bromley never strays away from a little bit of a challenge.
The one that's impressed me probably the last 2 weeks is the 18 bike of Max Whale. He's up near the front on that Royal Enfield.
He has been up front, doing better. I think just trying to get by a little bit of a block, trying to figure some things out. How about the 14 that just went up to second place on the KTM?
That is Logan McGrain, 17.842. There he is. He's riding the Ryan Varnes Racing KTM. Went home in between the rounds and did some more riding and some testing back home. Had a good run. He was up there third for a little bit at Ventura.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I'm very impressed. Kind of, when he hopped on this KTM, it honestly changed his whole trajectory in the twins class as far as I see it. When he was on his own bikes, he was like fine, but now that he's on the KTM, it's like a new rider.
Well, you know what? I think he's earned that ride. He's glad he has that ride. Now he's trying to stay on that ride. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so, and to be able to do as well as he is. And last week in Ventura, you said that he was up front early on in the main event, but it's kind of a different playing field when you got there. He has to learn what to do up there and how to race against those guys.
There you can see the aerial shot kind of carries you out wider on the back straightaway. It's more straight on that front straightaway. So that was our second round of practice for the Mission Super Twins. Van de Kooi, Logan McGrain, Trent Lowe, So a pair of KTMs, a Honda, then Dallas Daniels sitting 4th on the Yamaha, then the Royal Enfield of Maxwell. Another brand is Dan Bromley on Suzuki, and there's Fisher 7th. Breyer's just Jones is 10th. So, we watched it before. Breyer, started back in the pack in the last 2 main events and makes his way to the front. So we shouldn't be alarmed. We shouldn't be surprised.
I'm especially not surprised here just at the way that these guys are really working their way into the track, not trying to make any huge mistakes that could mess their day up, trying to let the track work its way in, and then they'll find their speed. You got Brandon Robinson, Breyer Bauman. They're not concerned at this point.
The running of the Bulls pulling onto the racetrack. They are 2-stroke motorcycles. They have a running of the Bulls series out here in California. They got their own T-shirts and everything. There's the red flag out there.
Living in the glory days. Little 2-stroke pressure release.
Uh-oh, there's somebody on the track. You guys need to settle down a little bit.
All right. I've never seen someone
jump to start.
I've never seen someone jump a practice start before. Yeah, we're going here with these guys, man. Always looking for a little bit of a race out here. Having a blast. We saw a lot of them last night riding, getting tuned in, getting the bikes checked out, making sure they're running.
We're getting notes up here on our printer from somewhere. I don't know where this came from. You want to read it? You know how to read. You went to Arizona State. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody loves you.
Yeah, Scotty's putting me in the pressure position, trying to get me to fill some time talking. Scotty's job's a lot harder than it sounds.
The running of the Bulls, but it's a Kawasaki out there, the 25 by Curtis Peebles. He actually seized that motor up last night. They stayed up all night putting new rings in it, and he's out here. Here's a good battle.
It don't take no time, though, with these things, right?
No, and take the head off and it's not too hard.
Scotty, you want to tell the people listening at home what we had happen to us in the elevator earlier today?
Oh, yeah. We had somebody ask us if we were going to, there's a track meet. Oh, it's a female's track meet, right? Mm-hmm. We said, no, we're going to the motorcycle races. And Colby asked if they needed an announcer, and he looked at me and said, no, but you got the announcer voice. I asked if you were just chopped liver over here.
It's been a tough 2 days for me. I'm trying my best, though.
Ryan Berna goes to the top spot, 1:8.914. Just as I say that, Schaefer takes that over. Schaefer is on a Bull Taco, 1:8.804. They will have one heat race a little bit later on and one main event. And the 2 strokes just sound different.
When's the last time you rode one of these, Scotty?
You know, actually, Knoxville, Iowa, 2011, I rode a Bull Taco and actually got the win. It was the Bull Taco shootout.
Knoxville, Iowa. Those things must have been singing out there.
It was fast.
Yeah, I would have been replacing piston and rings there.
The bike was from Casper, Wyoming. I drove up there, picked it up, drove back. Me and my dad kind of went through it a little bit. Got to test it in a parking lot. And then drove up to Knoxville and got the win. It was actually, that was a Spanish shootout. There was a heat race of Bull Tacos and a heat race of Osas. Me, my dad, and my grandfather were all in the same heat race of Bull Tacos. And then we all make the main, and I got lucky enough to win it. Have you ever raced one?
No, I wanted to. At some point, I'd like to be able to, just to try to ride one.
You're almost vintage legal now. You're retired.
I know.
Right.
The vintage bikes nowadays are going to be the bikes that I started out on. It's been so long. It seems like I think my first 250 was a 06, and at this point, I mean, that's almost vintage legal.
That is definitely pretty much vintage legal. As the singles riders pull onto the racetrack, it's the official name of the class is AFT Singles, presented by Kicker Performance Audio. Look, I'm trying to go. They're trying to go 10 wide across the line.
Nobody
what are
wants
you
to
doing?
follow. Yeah, nobody wants to follow right now. Jared Lowe all the way on the bottom. We got Evan Renshaw up top. Cage,
the Rage.
The Rage Cage.
Cadman on the 228.
New rider. I'm trying to get his nickname locked in. He wants to go out all by himself, pulling a little Brian Smith move. I loved going out in the back all by myself, close enough to see the rider in front of you to see if you're catching up or not. But you still will not get held up at that point.
I actually had him on my podcast that came out yesterday. I asked him if he was and that is actually his birthday, February the 2nd.
ride last night, and adapting to the clay track is going to be a little bit tougher for him. He even admitted it. He said it's not quite his forte. Just going to have to try to be as smooth as he can, I think. Ventura really paid dividends to a rider that can just really get on the gas hard and try to push as deep as you can.
And he goes up to second on that last lap, the 2:28 second quick. Sadoff is the quick time right now, so we're keeping an eye on the 2:28 start at the back of the pack. Now he's in a bunch of traffic. The good thing is it's just practice.
Yeah, it is practice. Here's a little replay of Cage Tadman going through the corner here. Back end sliding out, nice little bit there, not too much, and then it catches a really tacky spot there, upsets the chassis. Takes a while for that. You really won't have that chassis back going where you want it to be until halfway down the back straightaway again, because there's so much weight transfer.
And we got a rider down, it looks like, on turn number 4.
It's going to be Braden Fanders going down off of turn 4 there.
You can see his airbag suit has deployed, and another spill for the 83 bike. So his left number plate's wrapped around the other way. Taking a look at it real quick.
Number plate's messed up a little bit, and the airbox cover's missing.
It's the first red flag of the evening. Braden Fanders was number 288 when he was a rookie. That was last year. Got a 2-digit number, and of course 88 was taken by Sadoff, so 83 was his dad Rich's number when he raced.
I remember watching Braden Fanders and his dad growing up, and he was so small out there, and then I watched him throughout the majority of his career. I always remember him going to the Daytona Short Track Amateur Day with his dad. So cool to see him out here, and it's great to see him out at Sonoy.
Let's take a look at the replay of turn number 4 incident. It's the 83 of Fanders on the left side of our screen. It looks like the rear end just kind of steps out right there. I've had that happen before.
Yeah, the same thing that really happened to Trevor Bruner earlier. Bruner able to save it, didn't quite go all the way around, but just back end stepped out and spun around backwards. The track, it's inconsistent right now. You got to be careful.
He's on the left side of the screen again, and there goes the back end. You see the little bit of dust coming up, and the front end comes up, and the back end just snaps around quick. He hung on to it for as long as he could. He actually still got his hand on it right there, so he's trying to get untangled from it.
Stuck on it,
yeah exactly.
Well, glad to see him get up all right there, and just glad to see him back out here on the circuit after that incident with him and Dalton Gautier earlier on in the season.
There are red flashing wheel and lights on the racetrack, and those can be triggered from up high. Race control is actually above the grandstands over there, and they can flip the lights onto red if anything like that happens. Of course, there are also flagmen in the corners, just in case our red wheel and lights don't come on or anything like that. So there's, they want to slow these riders down as quickly as possible. When the red comes out, they have to stop, and they usually go to a hot and a cold box. And then in the racing, you're not allowed to work on the bikes, but when they're not racing, they can make a change or two and get ready to continue on. Again, this is our second round of practice for you folks just tuning in on FloRacing, or for you folks just climbing into the area. The bikes come back onto the racetrack. Again, looks like we had 3 laps completed.
Today, a good suspension setup is going to be so key to try to let the bike right there with Fanders. You saw before he crashed, the chassis had started bouncing back and forth, getting upset. That took even more weight off the back tires. Then when he started to get back on the gas, it was even less. It was even lighter to spin around on him. So having your suspension dialed in is so important in practice. Not necessarily trying to lock in a fast lap time, but just get the suspension as close as you can.
Colby, right now, if you're on a single, where would you be running on the racetrack, just watching from where you're sitting right now?
I think I would be just searching around the smoothest spot. It's hard to see here on the television exactly, but Cage is doing a really good job, it looks like, right there on the bottom, being super easy on it. He gets a little bit sideways there, but I don't think you can just smack the gas on it. I think that's when you're going to spin her thing around.
So you got to roll the throttle on, throttle control. He's trying to grab a handful right there, trying to make a pass on Raggio.
And every time you see the thing kind of snap, that's just hitting a spot on the track that's got a lot more grip than where it previously was. That's just the inconsistency of it right now. So you do need to search around and try to find a spot. But by the time these guys come out here and qualify, whether that be in 20, 30 minutes, it's going to be a completely different surface. The track has slowed down a little bit for Chase Sadoff, about 0.3. Tadman's still in second with that 17.709, and the rest of the guys are all in that 17.7 range. So Sadoff's really found something early on in the session.
The top 10 looks like 3 KTMs and 4 Hondas up there, 1 Husqvarna, and Tadman takes it back to the pit area. It's his mechanic is actually his dad, Keith, and they'll try to see if they can make a few changes. But he's up there second quick, trying to back up what he did last weekend. And up next will be group number 2. There are, looks like, 3 groups of our AFT singles presented by Kicker Class, 28 of them. Only the fastest 16 make the main event. To make the main event is where you earn your points and get paid also. Here comes group number 2 rolling onto the racetrack. And Selmy will lead him out on the 15 bike. Bauer from Canada is on the 24. California kid Chad Coast on the 49. The 70 Declan Bender from Illinois. The 46 Reese Podor from Kansas. 94 is Ryan Wells from New York. 132 Bronson Pierce from the Pacific Northwest. 51 Cole Fredrickson. The 40 Olin Kistler. We sat with the crew from Olin Kistler last night. He had to make it in the main. And he made it from his heat race, didn't he?
He made it from the LCQ.
Oh,
He had
that's
a
right.
win.
He
only.
He won that one.
Man, what a stressful ordeal that is there. And he was able to win it, give her a little rev limiter on the back straightaway, celebrate. And just to go back to the Cage Tadman thing, how just, man, what an interesting last couple of weeks for him. And then specifically AFT-wise, clean sweeping last weekend, coming in here where openly he talked to us about not being nearly as confident on this style of a racetrack. You know, this is only practice, it's only round 2, but his mindset has been so calm and collected and humble, so very humble about everything that's going on, and I'm so excited to see what happens today. We've got a rider down coming off the turn 4.
And Selmy, who was out front on the 15 bike.
Same exact spot.
Must be slippery right there. Justin Anselmi, the 15 bike. He was riding the Waters Auto Body bikes on the East Coast and the Midwest races, and he's got himself a different ride for this weekend. The 15 bike is Justin Anselmi.
Shaking his head a little bit. That's a bummer. And man, right now the track's just allowing that to happen. It's just so spin around backwards instantly before you even know it, and you're not saving it. Trevor Bruner just has something going on right now where apparently he can save almost anything with that save he had in Ventura and earlier today.
And Selmy from Lodi, California, rides for the LeBlanc Family Farms team TDR on the sponsor list for the 15 bike. Like I said, he was riding for the Waters Auto Body team. They elected not to make it out here to the West Coast, so he will. We're assuming that he'll hop back on the Waters Auto Body bikes when they get back to the next few rounds. Chad Coast will take the lead now on the 49. He is actually from Fremont, California. He lives in Florida now. The First Impressions race team, Husqvarna. He won the Dash for Cash at Lodi, then ended up second in the main event.
To who?
The Tadman.
And that's a clay track, so.
And yeah, it's just, I think now it looks like Tadman has his mind set right. Like you said, we talked to him last night. He said he wasn't too confident, but maybe that's just him. Maybe he is just nonchalant about it. Maybe that's him trying to focus himself and set his sights for that.
That's probably how I would be, just the more, not expect a lot and just go with the flow and see how it goes. But right now, with how the track is and a lot of these riders that are seasoned in this class being uncomfortable, you can take advantage of that. But Justin Anselmi goes from crashing and bringing out that red flag to 3rd now on the timesheets.
I think that put a fuel in his fire a little bit.
Well, I mean, there's a reason he crashed. He was pushing hard, Scotty.
And now he's pushing hard again. He's up to 3rd.
He had his leg off there, getting a little loose through 1 and 2, so he is absolutely pushing it.
You getting a little western out there?
We are on the West Coast.
Chad Coast out in the front spot, the fastest lap so far in practice in the singles. Sat off 1:7.437 here in this round. It was a little bit faster in the first round when the track is fresh. That was the same case last weekend in Ventura, as the track will continue to change throughout the evening.
Talked with Chad's crew earlier today, and they said that he wasn't able to get comfortable in Ventura. Never really found a bike setup that allowed him to do what Chad Coast is able to do on this style of short track. Today, man, it's going to be tough. Like I mentioned, you have to have your suspension set up very well, so hopefully the crew's able to adapt and find something a little bit quicker. As he's sitting in 7th, just moves up there now, but his teammate in 5th, able to go back and forth with him on some information. He's got Andrew Butler as his mechanic, while Ashley is Chad Coast's mechanic.
And those two are completely different. Chad Coast pulls out the way, lets a couple of riders go on by.
Yeah, completely different.
Completely different heights, Weight's probably about the same, but yeah, it's I don't know how much information is relatable when your two riders are that different in stature.
Yeah, they're as light as they can possibly be at the heights that they are.
Right. Lean and mean.
Lean and mean.
All right, that was our second group of our FT singles. Up next, our 3rd and final group in our second round of practice out here today. When they come out in the practice order, they come out according to their point standings, so that's why there's a few 3-digit numbers back here. Maybe they haven't quite earned any points yet, or where they just don't have quite as many points as the guys that came out in the first two groups. Shelby Millers will lead the pack out in the 145. Jacob Lehman, the 114. Ray Handy on the 174. Ian Wolf on the number 57. 35 is Ryan Hyatt. 134 is Donaldson. 101 is Martin from Ohio. 249 Skylar Sintel from Michigan. The 110 Dominic DeMario from right here in California. Final group of our second round of practice here today. Then we'll start getting ready for some qualifying action.
Guys from all over the country coming out here for the first time to try to get some experience doing the whole AFT swing. On the West Coast, it's a very different thing, and a lot of these families from the East Coast do. It's an experience because you have to find a place to stay all week. You can't go back and forth, so you're not going home. You're out here working on the bikes. You're at a car wash most likely, so the environment's completely different if you've never been to the West Coast.
I know people stay at his house, so they didn't have to make the trip home, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes you have friends that you can kind of hang out with and stay with, and but it's not like being home. As we got a good battle right here from Lehman and 145 Shelby Miller.
Both Pacific Northwest riders. Now Jacob living down in Texas, but they both come from that Pacific Northwest area. And the guy in third, Ian Wolf, he changed the tempo of the night last year here at this track.
Yeah, he went to the High Line for the first time. He was the first one that went up there in that last chance qualifier, or the semifinal, whichever it was. And actually, he told me it was because Bronson Bauman told him to go up there and give it a shot. He had nothing to lose at that point.
A shout out to Bronson Bauman. Love to see him get back out here eventually. Missing him out here in the field.
Well, he lives down there by where you live. And you're the one that, some people are saying that he's retired, and you actually said no, he's actually building the bike. So we'll see.
He's got a cool track at his house. He invited me the one day, and it was like 32 degrees out.
And you didn't go?
I'm a fair weather rider.
Well, you also have your new waffle bike. You could have taken that out there.
But he's at home with wife Alex and their little baby and enjoying that side of life. And I'm sure we'll see him back out here. I can't wait to see that.
As Wolf has put himself into second on the racetrack, Lehman's kind of stretching out. Shelby Miller slid back to third on the track.
Shelby Miller got a flat tire last night.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
You don't see that too often.
Not really. The Dunlop tires are a much better compound, and they're really hooked up this season.
And a different compound. Now it's full rubber, real rubber, not any synthetics in it at all. So that's something that these riders have had to adapt to a little bit this year. And the majority of them, all we talk about, they're all a little bit happier with it. They say it comes in sooner and it'll last. It's a lot more consistent from brand new tire to almost down to the wires.
So just a little note for you folks that are at home and can see it better, or the folks that are here watching on the big screen. On the ticker on the left side, the riders that are yellow are actually on the racetrack right now.
That's a cool little graphic that we're able to bring up. Also, having the colors of the brands of the motorcycle that they're on as well.
That is very cool. So that's it for our second round of practice out here in Chico. We're at Silver Dollar Speedway. It's the Silver Dollar short track. The bikes will go back and go to the attention of their crews, try to start making some changes to their motorcycle. Maybe the mechanics tell the riders to make little changes themselves, but practice is in the books. When we get back out there, it'll be time for qualifying action out here today. There'll be 2 rounds of qualifying. We do have an open pit area for you fans to go down here from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. They call that a fan party. At that point, you come down here and talk to these riders and meet them. Stop by the souvenir stand, get yourself that Chico Silver Dollar Short Track t-shirt. Come on down, meet your favorite riders. Also, we'll have some riders doing some Q&A sessions down there on that front straightaway. So check that out, Colby. Really cool sights from right here in Silver Dollar, Chico, California. We'll take a quick break. When we come back to California, it'll be time for qualifying right here at round number 5.
Hey fans, are you a contractor or homeowner who needs equipment for an upcoming project? Cresco Equipment Rentals has you covered with gold standard service to large commercial job sites, major events, facilities, and your projects at home. Cresco Equipment Rentals is the preferred company of Stanford Athletics for renting and purchasing superior equipment. Visit CrescoRent.com for cutting-edge equipment solutions and all your equipment needs. That's CrescoRent.com.
Hey guys! Hope you'll join me this September for our first annual American Bike Fest. Set to be the premier motorcycle and music event of the Northeast. We'll have a VIP and first responders ride, live concerts, camping, vendors, a kids zone, beer garden, food, and more. I'll be there all weekend and we'll be bringing some of our favorite bikes and friends from American Chopper. For tickets and more information, go to AmericanBikeFest.com.
Tom Duma Fine Jewelers is proud to be the official jeweler for our 10th year to Progressive American Flat Track, providing championship rings for each class in 2023. Tom Duma Fine Jewelers wants to be your jeweler. Check us out online for all your jewelry needs, from engagement rings to fashion jewelry to watches, in all price points to fit everyone's budget. Shop like a pro. Shop TDFJ.com.
Freedom on the road starts with the right coverage. That's why so many riders depend on Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Visit Progressive.com to customize your policy and get great coverage, low rates, and a quote in just 3 minutes. Royal Enfield, the oldest motorcycle manufacturer in continuous production, is proud to introduce the 2025 Moto Anatomy powered by Royal Enfield Super Twins race team, which now features champion Johnny Lewis serving as coach to new lead rider Max Whale this year. In addition, Royal Enfield once again features a new lineup of build, train, race, all-female flat-track racers that compete on the AFT Pro Circuit this year. Royal Enfield's full lineup of retro-styled motorcycles are easy to ride at very accessible price points, all honoring 124 years of motorcycle history dating back to 1901. Check out RoyalEnfield.com to find your nearest dealer and test ride the newest models, including the Himalayan 450 and Bear 650, which are turning heads in North America.
Welcome back to the Silver Dollar Short Track. 2 rounds of practice are in the books. We got 2 rounds of qualifying coming up next. And Kristen B definitely has some kryptonite, and she found some more down there in the pit area. She loves all the puppers, and she always finds all the dogs in the pits. We got to talk to that little guy earlier today.
Yeah, that was Tank. That was Mr. Rackley's sweet, sweet baby dog. And speaking of the paddock and what's going on in the pits, I got Brandon Robinson. Brandon, we are 5 consecutive short tracks into the season. We're now officially a quarter of the way through the entire season. Generally, when we talk about short tracks, names that come to mind, yours, Brandon Robinson, your bread and butter this season. Still looking for that first win of the season, though, Brandon. What are you guys focused on here at the Silver Dollar Speedway?
Mainly, we're just focused on trying to find that consistency we've been lacking, for the majority of the year. We've been either really good or we've been a little bit off. And again, today the track's just challenging. So it's got a lot of edges in it. It's some soft spots. So just really trying to fine tune things right now and trying to be better for later on. We know this track's going to change quite a bit, like kind of how it did last year. It's starting off very similar, and hopefully for later on we'll get a good racetrack at nighttime when the sun goes down. But it's going to be a little while till we get there.
It's easy to forget, you guys are still developing the Harley Davidson. This is your first year on the bike full time. How has that process been either rewarding for you or satisfying in some ways, because you're still performing within the top 10 on a brand new bike?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's a challenge. Maybe not as easy as it has been in the last couple of years, just knowing what you got, and you come, pretty much every racetrack and you have a game plan on what you're going to be running with. And I've had a really good package the last 6 years, and not that this isn't a good package, but we're just still learning and trying to get the consistency and get that comfortability of myself on the motorcycle on a weekend-to-weekend basis. So it's just something we're still working on and still missing a little bit, but we have times, like I said, we feel really good, and other times, like today right now, we're still struggling. So we got a little bit of work to do today, and hopefully we can turn this ship around and be good when the racing starts.
Speaking of the work, behind us is Ben Evans, Brandon Robinson's mechanic. Ben, I didn't ask you before, but we've got some time, so let's chat a little bit. Moving from working on the Indian to the Harley Davidson, what differences are you noticing as far as the bike? I've heard a lot of people give feedback as far as the Harleys are a little more fragile.
They're definitely more fragile. We got to be into them a lot more than the Indians last year, but we're getting there. We're finding some weak links. And seeing what the biggest thing is getting him comfortable. Once he gets comfortable, we all know he can go fast. So the bikes are, they're getting there. They're getting there. We're close. We're like this far away, So it's a struggle, but we're working on it.
What are the areas of adjustment that you guys are really focused on within this bike? Some bikes you really have to adjust the suspension and the chassis and the handling. And what are you guys focused on here?
So these things have a lot of adjustability. The swing arm pivot's adjustable. We're playing with that a lot, moving the front end back and forth and up and down. And there's all kinds of things you can play with. But like we used to like a short wheelbase on the Indian. He don't like that on this thing. So we're learning that. It's different strokes for different folks.
Thanks so much, Ben. And we're looking forward to seeing what Brandon can do here at the short track. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
He's trying to learn a new motorcycle. He did ride for the factory Harley-Davidson team on a similar motorcycle, but this is a new bike to them and that team, and they're working on it. And he led almost the entire main event there at Sonoy, got beat at the line by Brandon Robinson. But they're impressive right off the box.
Yeah, he did a great job at Sonoy, and leading there was very tough, not knowing where the guys were behind you. Definitely a bit of an advantage to be coming from behind to try to know where you can pass. But the Harley-Davidson, great package. I spent a year on one. I wish I could have spent a few more years on one. So much adjustability. And he mentioned how last year they came to this track and they kind of knew what they wanted because they'd spent a few years on the Indian motorcycle, which that bike was purposely built to go around in an oval, where this motor built street bike, go point A to point B, put into a flat track chassis, custom built, beautiful package from Vance & Hines and Harley Davidson. Just trying to figure it out. And, Ben Evans, a great tuner, a great mechanic, but like he'd mentioned, on the Indian, you could have the wheel all the way in the front, make the wheelbase short. Now on the Harley Davidson, he wants it long.
And that's very interesting. So it's just, research and development, time on the bikes, and it looks like Kristen's found Tank again. I think we lost Kristen for the rest of the night.
I found our star today, Mr. Tank Rackley, hanging out at Davis Fisher's pit. Now, I need to do this real quick because this is one of my favorite things. You guys need to listen to him breathe. He says that tastes good. He is such a good boy. I love track dogs. I love a good track dog. This is Tank. I've never seen a dog more fitting of the name Tank. He's hanging out over here. Davis, this KTM has been such an interesting bike to see develop over the last few seasons between Briar Bauman hitting the KTM, now you're on the KTM, and your team and the people around you, the support you have has changed dramatically. How much have you seen this bike progress in the last few rounds?
It's progressed pretty well. I mean, we started off on a good note in Daytona, but yeah, we keep working at it, and these clay tracks are a lot different with the KTM package, and we just keep marching along and making good headway.
We talked earlier about horse names. This is the Kentucky Derby weekend, and you had told me your bike's horse name. I don't know if you want to share it with us.
Yeah, I like to call it the Noble Steed, you know, the donkey off Shrek.
The Noble Steed, the donkey off Shrek. Brad at the front of the truck, does that pull at your heartstrings a little bit? Donkey. Layers donkey.
So Brad Jones was at home last weekend. His son performed in the play, his first play he performed in. He was the title role, the lead role. He was Shrek.
Shrek's one of my favorite movies.
I know, you was giving quotes and everything.
Yeah, I love it. I'm not going to give my donkey impression, but it's pretty good.
Oh, now you put yourself on the spot. Come on, donkey, let's hear it.
I can't. I've got a long night of talking ahead of me, and that one could blow out just like that two-stroke Kawasaki last night. We cannot put a rebuild kit in me, though.
You can't? Not in 2 hours?
Not that quickly,
Yeah,
no.
Not too quick. So, again, a little track maintenance going on, trying to make that track better and better. There's the Harley Rake. That is what the official name of that thing is. It's turning up some dirt right there in the middle spot. That's where I seemed like a few of the riders were having issues, especially coming off of turn number 4. So they're turning it up a little bit, put some more moisture back on it, then packing it right back in.
You know what my dad calls Davis Fisher?
What?
Smiley.
Smiley?
Because he's always got a smile on his face, no matter bad mood or good mood, bad day, good day. He's just always got a good smile, a great person, and great person to get behind a roof for.
We always, you know, we went and talked to him for a long time. Him and his brother Bly was there, and his dad Rex, his mom was there, and got to talk to the whole family last night.
Sister Randy, the whole family was there. It was good to catch up, and being out here on the Pacific Northwest side of the country, able to get the whole family down.
Yeah, they had them all stacked in about 3 different cars. All right, Kristen's got a question for us over here in the truck, I believe. We'll see. Kristen?
Yeah, Scotty, earlier in the day, Colby and I were talking about the interesting aspects of this rivalry or battle between Dallas Daniels and Briar Bauman, and what we found most interesting, and Colby, my question for you, in the past, Dallas Daniels was able to develop notes on how to race with Jared Mees, and we haven't seen prime Briar Bauman in the last 2 seasons, and now Dallas Daniels is racing prime Briar Bauman. How does that affect him?
It's very tricky, and we talked about specifically how Briar Bauman, the last time we saw him in what I would call his prime, was when he was battling for championships on the Factory Indian versus Jared Mees. And then he took 2 years to try and develop the KTM, and at times he was very good, but I would not say he is where he is right now. I think right now he's doing some of the best riding of his life. So Dallas, he spent all last season and the season before battling neck and neck with Jared Mees, realizing his tendencies, knowing where he can kind of not outsmart him, but maybe take a shot at Jared. Well, with Briar, they didn't battle much last year. You know, when Briar was on, he was really on. And now they're going neck and neck each week. So Dallas has to, you know, start a new notebook with Briar and try to figure out his tendencies, like what he had figured out with Mees. Very tricky to do. It's going to take a while.
And, you know, just the way they interact with each other off the racetrack, you know, the way they talk to each other. And, you know, like Mees, I think, would play some head games with Dallas Daniels when those two are battling for the championship. And it's a whole different dynamic down there in the pit area this year.
Whole different dynamic. And still, we've done 4 rounds. We're 25% through this championship right now. We've talked to Briar last week on the podium. Still super, super nice to Dallas. Total respect between the two of these guys. It's going to be interesting to see how that develops throughout the season.
Definitely will be, as we are on round number 5 right here. Short track so far. We got one more short track right after this, and we go to Lima, the first 2 half miles, and it's back-to-back at Lima, a doubleheader at the Lima half mile, and they did some work on that racetrack. They've kind of reconfigured it, smoothed it out, and brought the deep stuff back onto the racetrack. So the track at Lima is going to be really good this season.
And we get a double header there, and it features our first ever AFT Triple Challenge, which will be amazing to watch and get to experience and call. Briar Bauman, now it is time to get it done here in qualifying the first session for the day. Dallas gives them a ton of room to work with. These guys.
Should we talk about the big news that dropped this morning, or we should save that for later?
I think we can save that for later. That's
all right.
Yeah, you can see Briar's back into the chassis, moving around a lot, especially with those number plates. That's all a fiberglass or carbon fiber rear end on these motorcycles.
All one piece?
Very rigid one piece, and you see it bouncing around a lot.
There's Dallas Daniels on the 32. Essence of Racing, Yamaha Racing, Monster Energy backed motorcycle number 32. And going back to the top spot. He's fastest in both rounds of practice. JB20 looks good today.
He's looking really good. He was very good at Sonoy. This is in the same category as Sonoy being a banked car track, but dirt's completely different. And today is kind of sort of looking like a day, at least in qualifying, this early part of the day, where take advantage where you can. The track's got a ton of grip in spots. It might be a little bumpy, but if you can hit those and hit them properly, you're going to launch yourself forward. Vanderkoy feeling very aggressive right off the rip today, but Davis Fisher, just talked to him, goes up to the top of the board.
Perfect timing as Fisher goes to the hot spot. And there's the 18s. We go back through the field. Max Whale on the Royal Enfield. He's been moving forward. He looked really strong at the Lodi Cycle Bowl. You know, again, seat time. That's what you need. It's hard to, you know, find races and racetracks to go to and you know, be racy. You know, they're not always prepped like we have at American Flat Track, and just the seat time for Max is definitely paying dividends.
It is, and he's just, you know, it's taken you time to get used to a new motorcycle, and last year being on the Harley-Davidson, this air-cooled Royal Enfield, completely different motorcycle. Johnny Lewis did an amazing job developing it to the point where it is now, but it's going to take Max Whale some time to get it going how he wants, and today is looking like a good start, being third right now, qualifying behind 2 KTMs.
The one good thing for him is very similar in stature. About the same size as Johnny Lewis, might be a little bit taller, but the weight's got to be pretty similar. So that was Maxwell we're talking about. It's Davis Fisher, fastest in our first round of qualifying, 17.916. Vanderkoy second, Max Whale third, Briar Bauman, Dallas Daniels, Brandon Robinson, Trent Lowe were the bikes on the racetrack. That was group number 1, and group number 2 set to roll onto the racetrack. So these times do count. This is how you get qualified into your starting heat race. James Ott on the G&G Yamaha will lead him out. He did win the Lodi Cycle Bowl in the twins class on one of their practice bikes. Not one of their real race bikes, but a practice bike still, nonetheless.
Yeah, they got a flock of them. It's cool for James to be able to have one to practice on a lot. He does a lot of riding. Him and his family are very dedicated to the sport. Justin
Jones looked like he caught his foot, then it looked like he was trying to get it into gear, so he might have kicked himself out of gear.
Kicked himself out of gear, maybe, you know, messed the chain up a little bit. You can kick these chains off. We saw Bromley do that a lot in Daytona.
And he did it at the Waycross Georgia race, the Steve Mace AMA All-Star race on the way down to Daytona. Our second group, first round of qualifying for the Mission Super Twins. Twin-cylinder motorcycles, production-based engines. A lot of parity in this class this year.
A lot of parity between all of the different brands, and that was part of the goal, going back to the production-based motorcycles. Allows for a lot of different brands to come into the sport, and I'm looking forward to later in the year. It's going to be Dalton Gaudier coming in on a brand that has not seen this sport on a new motor.
Working on it right now. I heard there might be another rider on the same brand that's not here with us today. Again, on the left side of the screen, the names that are in yellow are the riders on the racetrack right now. So Ott is up to third quick on the number 19. McGrain on the 14 is up to 6th. And now Ott to the top spot. Good thing I didn't write it down.
Ott to the top spot, just kind of riding around, honestly. Not overcharging into the corner, just utilizing that bike for the most amount of grip, riding in the darkest spot on the track. Traditionally, that is where the grip will be. Getting held up a little bit currently by McGrain here, but he's already got the top line in. I bet he has no idea he went to the top right there.
Probably not. There's no communication between the pit area and the rider. There was a little testing going on. JD Beach did some testing at the Daytona short track, but that has not been implemented yet. And how about this? Yamaha, KTM. We have a Royal Enfield and a Harley Davidson in your top 5 And this is Ott's first year in the Super Twins class.
First year in the Super Twins class, but been on the Twin for a little bit, getting some seat time. Good to see Justin Jones was able to get some time. Not sure exactly what happened earlier on in that session, but it'll be James Ott, P1 in qualifying 1.
That's got to feel good.
And you know what? That bike's a whole shot machine. Corey Texter.
Colby Carlisle.
I battled a lot in 2019 and just constant whole shots. James Spoli knows that when he was battling, and Jesse Janish as well for those Production Twins championships. So James Ott looking to be a weapon here today. And I talked about it earlier. If James does a good one, we're going to be riding the bull.
We're going to celebrate tonight. There's some Kawasaki's Bull Taco. There's a yellow Bull Taco. And
what a cool sound.
Number 9's a Husqvarna, it looked like. 92 was going really strong last night on a couple of different motorcycles. There goes Kawasaki. This is the Battle of the Bulls.
I love the rattle they make, just sitting there and vibrate. And I've got to get on one of these eventually at some point.
I haven't heard any of the compression releases like back when I was growing up. You know, when they didn't have brakes, they used the compression release to help slow you down going into corners. And you just let off. It's a little knob on the left handlebar underneath your clutch.
What's it do?
It just takes the compression. It's like its back pressure just slows you down. You're not familiar with that, huh?
Unfamiliar.
You're just a kid.
You're a little bit older than me. Not much.
Just a little bit.
Wish we were outside announcing so we could get a little whiff of this, a little smell in the air, yeah.
Nothing like some two-stroke. I think I need a candle that smells like a two-stroke. Somebody needs to make this one. 25 out front right now. It's Curtis Peebles from Salinas. Got one rider from Arizona, one from Washington. The rest are from California in this class. There's 92, that's Schaefer. He's got some Bull Taco stripes on the middle part of his leathers on the front. My grandpa actually had a van painted up with the Bull Taco. It was red, Bull Taco red, and had the white and the black little checkers all the way around it, wrapped around it when I was a kid.
My favorite Bull Taco is an El Bandito, black and white, but I was also trying to find, and it's a little out of my price range right now with the wedding, but I'd love to get a Matrala Bull Taco to ride on the street to a coffee shop. Really cool little street bike. Man, they're finally getting out of the seat, a little out of the saddle for these two guys up front. Haven't seen that yet with the Bull Tacos, but they're finding the rough spots, finding the little spots where there's more grip than the rest of the track.
The 92 is definitely charging towards the front. He goes to the top spot. That is Jonathan Schaefer, number 92. And he is actually from Oroville, California. That's where we're staying this weekend. Can we give you a room number?
If you see a Mustang Mach-E, it's low on battery.
It does need a charge.
92 to the top of the spot. 25 hitting the same one the last two laps. Decides to move down this time. Won't hit that same bump he did the previous lap.
Well, and you know what? He saw the rider just passed him that went to the lead. He just went after trying to find his line. So Schaefer is your quick time right here in the running of the Bulls.
Scotty, is there a clear advantage between these bikes? Like some of these bikes built faster than the others, you think? Or you think it's rider-based?
I think it's rider-based. I mean, you can only do so much to these older motorcycles. You know, if you bore them out any bigger, they might blow up. So I think it's mostly rider-based. I mean, I know you can put some expensive parts on them. You can put some carbon fiber stuff on them, but to make it lighter weight. But those 250s, sometimes 360s, it depends on what they're running out there too. So that might be the biggest advantage: is are they 250s? Are they 360s?
I know some of those got reed valves, and I know that's a huge advantage. But interesting, Cage Tadman electing to go with a clear shield. It's so bright out there. Earlier today, we were doing a little pre-race, pre-show recording, and my eyes were burning. It's tough being an announcer, right? But Cage Tadman using the only rider going out there right now with a clear. Oh, and Jared Lowe, two riders electing these clear shields. Interesting. I would sometimes do that just to really be able to lock in on where the bumps are on the racetrack. So today that could be an advantage, but man, it's so bright outside.
Yeah, I would definitely have to have a tinted shield. My eyes are very sensitive. So yeah, it's interesting to see. Maybe wants to see exactly where he's riding on the racetrack. The different track colors. Sometimes if it's darker, it's wetter, but sometimes also if it's darker, there's more rubber on the racetrack.
Or it can be darker, like that darker brown, but it can be dry. It can be super dry. It's just no one's gone on it yet. Cage Tadman was P2 in free practice too, so it'll be interesting to see where he's able to end up here in qualifying one. Bike moving around a lot on him there, almost gets out in the loose stuff while he was sideways. That could have been bad, spinning around backwards, able to bring it back in.
you know, last weekend, he was the only rider in the singles class running the high line and let the bike bounce, and he would just grab a handful. I don't think you can just grab a handful and pull out of it here today. It's a little bit too slippery at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit too slippery, and I think Kristen Beats got something for us down trackside.
Speaking to Cage Tadman, following on that story, and I spoke about Colby, you know, this is a really big weekend for him, but knowing that he was running P2 in that practice session and seeing how well he's been running here, how he's been navigating and interpreting the field, is this enough? If you're a team owner, are you looking at Cage and thinking, I need to talk to him before the end of the night, or does he need to perform in the main event? How does that work, Colby?
I think I would, if I had a bunch of money, I would love to be able to help this kid out, because not talking to him in the pits, him and his dad, such good people, very humble, especially with everything that's going on in such a quick time. It would not take much for your head to, you know, kind of go upside down. But watching this, he is complete. I mean, I'm going to be totally honest. He's loose. The bike is loose. It's not very smooth right now, and he's up to P3, so I think he has so much potential, and he really hasn't been exposed to a lot of those East Coast tracks. Majority of the circuit is this clay stuff, but if I was a sponsor, I would want to get on board early with this kid to at least try to help him get him to the rest of the round so he can learn, because not a championship this year, obviously starting out later, but it's a pivotal year for him to start learning.
And make a name for yourself right now. If he can back up anything close to what he did last week, I think he's got to be catching some eyeballs, maybe catch himself a ride. He's got, you know, Roost Systems spotted him back in 2017 when he was just 12 years old. That was group number 1 of our FT singles class.
Yeah, just Cage, this is kind of what I was talking about. It's him, the speed he's going right now, and I'd even talked about it in Ventura. I was so impressed with how he looked in his bike, his lines he was taking, and the speed he was having. So I think if he can figure out the bike, get it a little more settled down, but he's a first-generation racer right there, the front end really moving around a lot. I think it starts to tuck under if this is the same lap coming out. So just him and his dad trying to figure this all out as quick as they can, which is all, yeah, right there. He starts to lose the front end. He almost tucks it underneath. I think if him and his dad, maybe some other guys, can go over there and give him some teaching and coaching on the suspension, he's gonna, that's gonna be great.
That's what I was exactly going to say. Do you talk to a suspension guy? Do you talk to another rider that maybe is not in your class? Who if I'm Cage Tadman or even his dad Keith, who would I go talk to right now?
When I was at that point, I grew a relationship with Andrew Butler, who at that time was working for Sammy Helberg, and he was able to give me some tips, little things here and there that started to help. But he's probably got a suspension guy, somebody that did his stuff. He's not here with him, obviously, so you make some phone calls. You hope they're watching here on FloRacing, trying to see what the bike's doing. Luckily, he's getting a lot of coverage right now because of what he did last week.
Holy cow, we got a new quick time. Justin Anselmi goes to the top spot on the 15. A 1:07.693. That's exactly what I get for writing it down before the final group goes out. That's my fault.
That's bad, but that's important lap time right there, because this is not practice anymore. This is qualifying.
Wow, that's impressive for the Lodi, California rider.
And to be, I mean, it's even more important, Scotty, because the times have gotten slower each session. So if trends keep going this way and nobody else passes him, there's a good chance he's P1. Sitting pole tonight, fast qualifier.
He is ripping right now, the 15. Justin Anselmi, 1:07.693. His last lap was a 1:07.717, so he threw in a heater. This time by a 1:07.582. It's even faster for Anselmi.
And Chad Coast, the California kid, up to second place, starting to get that thing worked in where he wants. Anselmi on the Yamaha.
The good thing is Chad is chasing the 15. Those two are California riders, and
yeah, he's got a rope attached to him, trying to pull himself up there.
So now we got a KTM. Justin Bender goes to third on the KTM.
Declan Bender.
Declan Bender. Well, I said Justin Bender.
I think you're so excited about Anselmi, what he's doing. I mean, I'm so impressed with that. But yeah, Declan Bender making hay while the sun's shining, trying to get some riders, some attention from some sponsors.
You know, you hardly see Group 2 go faster than Group number 1. It just hardly happens unless there's somebody that's only rode his first race with us or second race with us. But Anselmi goes to the top spot, number 15. He's from Lodi, California. Chad Coase from Fremont, California goes to second. Declan Bender is third.
Hunter Bauer in 5th place, a great performance out of him. And then Reese Podorf coming off that 10th place last week in 6th right now, and Tom Drain in 7th. Cage Tadman gets bumped back to 8th. Now, I'm going to play advocate here. it's very interesting that all those riders went forward. I wonder if some tires getting laid down, some grip, and there's an actual groove starting to get laid down. That's my only thought here, because that's a lot of riders that just jumped up the board.
Yeah, a little bit more rubber. So yeah, it was Sadoff who was fourth, and the 3 riders in that last group just jumped up above him right there.
All those guys are really starting to come off the same line off of turn 2 there. Nothing there really, just kind of dusty. Everyone's losing the back end a little bit. I'm trying to really see what's going on. I was so excited I wasn't paying enough attention in the last one, but it looks like everyone's coming off at 2 there in the same spot. It looks like that's really starting to become the line.
Third and final group, first round of qualifying for your AFT singles class presented by kicker Shelby Miller. Has his hands full in turn number 4. Kind of riding a buck and bronco there just a little bit.
I think the track's getting faster.
I noticed he did ride a framer on Thursday night, saving the this bike for last night and tonight, but he's kind of bouncing around a little bit on that 145.
Yeah, right now track's pretty interesting. Turns 1 and 2, a very defined line on where to be, a lot more grip right there coming off of turn 2. Everyone's in the same exact spot. 3 and 4 has not yet developed that. Still a lot of dust. You see these guys back end still moving around. Bike's not settled down. We've got Ian Wolf on the bottom there. Jacob Lehman going by as well, trying to get by Shelby, trying to get a good lap time in. Jacob Lehman now with clear track. Let's see what he is able to do.
Before he got by Shelby Miller, the 114 was sitting 12th quick. We'll see if he can go any faster. Wolf is the fastest rider on the racetrack as he makes a bobble right there.
That's going to be a good one out of Jacob Lehman, I think.
Lehman on the 114 was 12th quick. Will he go up to the top of the leaderboard or move up at all? Last time by for Lehman, 18.161. Skylar Sintel moves up to 14th on the 249.
Now all these Twins riders probably are watching, seeing what's going on.
Would you watch in the pit area on your tablet or on your phone, or would you be up at the track watching?
Personally, I'd probably be on my tablet so I don't get sunburned.
But dude, I gotta tell a story. Last night the sun was almost set and you borrowed some sunscreen from somebody we were sitting beside.
He's another redhead. He knew. He looked over at me and he's like, "You need sunscreen."
Yeah, we get burned
on it. It was pretty sad.
You get burned when the moon is out.
Yeah, it was sad. We had to sit behind a tree. Scott,
I couldn't see nothing.
Yeah, Scotty gets a little bit of bad treatment now hanging out.
I got nice tan, and Colby's over here trying to hide behind a tree.
It was 8 o'clock and I was putting sunscreen on. It's terrible.
Qualifying round number 1 is in the books for all of our competitors. Justin Anselmi at the top spot, 17.582. The track has slowed down a little bit from the first few sessions, but the last couple groups found some speed, so you never know what's going to happen. It's Anselmi, Coast, Declan Bender, Chase Sadoff, Hunter Bauer, Reese Podorf. The Kansas riders up there had a good qualifying effort. Tom Drain, Cage Tadman, Ian Wolf, and Terran Santero rounding out your top 10. The water truck has come back out onto the racetrack, so one full round of qualifying is done. One more full round of qualifying to go, and then the open pit area coming up at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. 6:30 we'll have some rider Q&A sessions going on the front straightaway. So National Yo-Yo Museum is right here in Chico. So we'll take a quick step off here for right now. When we come back, our final round of qualifying coming up next from Chico. We'll be back.
Hey fans, are you a contractor or homeowner who needs equipment for an upcoming project? Cresco Equipment Rentals has you covered with gold standard service to large commercial job sites, major events, facilities, and your projects at home. Cresco Equipment Rentals is the preferred company of Stanford Athletics for renting and purchasing superior equipment. Visit CrescoRent.com for cutting-edge equipment solutions and all your equipment needs. That's CrescoRent.com.
SBI Magazine is a free online motorcycle magazine featuring motorcycle reviews, industry news, product reviews, race reports, editorials, moto lifestyle, and moto entertainment. Visit us online at sportsbikeincmag.com. Back on Track, a Rookies of 79 501c3 charity, was established in 2009 by former racers to help injured racers get back on the racetrack or the track of life. Assistance is provided to injured racers through our posted schedule of benefits and special fundraising programs, where 100% of your donation goes directly to ease the financial burden from an injury sustained on the racetrack. Check us out on the web at backontrack.com and donate today. Every donation is tax deductible and will make a difference in an injured racer's life. Kicker Performance Audio is your fuel for living loud and a proud supporter of American Flat Track, the original extreme sport. 50 years and counting, Kicker has been the world leader in audio gear for cars, trucks, motorcycles, and America's roads. Kicker Audio is living loud. Hey race fans, are you looking to take your welding skills to the next level? Trust Lincoln Electric, a leader in welding solutions for over a century. From top-notch equipment to innovative technology, Lincoln Electric powers your projects with unmatched reliability and performance. Elevate your craft with Lincoln Electric, where quality meets innovation. Visit LincolnElectric.com today. For over a decade, Dunlop has supported all progressive American flat track classes with their premier flat track tires. Designed for professional and amateur riders alike, Dunlop's DT4 has an aggressive tread pattern, is available in multiple tread compounds, and can be run tubeless for greater overall performance. Dunlop, the official tire of progressive American flat track. Rev up those taste buds with Mission Foods. Fully loaded tacos, fast wraps, piled high nachos. Whatever you crave, Mission will help take your race day to the finish line. Now that's too fast, too tasty. Racing is all about performance, speed, precision, and pushing the limits. Aeroflex brings that same mindset to liquid packaging with a design that's lighter, tougher, and better for the planet. Simply tear the tab, squeeze, and experience a better way to package liquids. Jostens is proud to be the official trophy of American Flat Track. Jostens also produces great commemorative race products for race fans. Please visit us at jostens.com to see all of our commemorative racing products.
Hey guys, hope you'll join me this September for our first annual American Bike Fest. Set to be the premier motorcycle and music event of the Northeast. We'll have a VIP and first responders ride, live concerts, camping, vendors, a kids zone, beer garden, food, and more. I'll be there all weekend and we'll be bringing some of our favorite bikes and friends from American Chopper. For tickets and more information, go to AmericanBikeFest.com.
Welcome back to the Silver Dollar Short Track, round number 5 of Progressive American Flat Track, our 5th short track in a row. One more short track before we head to Lima for our first half mile of the season. Colby Carlisle up here in the booth with me. I'm Scotty Dubler. A lot of the riders stuck around out here in California and hung out and had some fun, but a lot of riders went back home. So it's just a little mix of whatever you can. Of course, most of the teams, you know, their bikes and stuff stayed out here. There's no sense in driving back and forth.
Yeah, all the teams pretty much stayed out here. None of them that I know of headquartered out here currently, but it makes no sense. It's too long. By the time you get home, you got to turn back around. And that's one difficult thing with coming on the West Coast swing, but these guys able now to get both races done in one trip.
Yeah, the West Coast swing. Then we go back to a new track as we'll take a look at some of our qualifying results from our first round of the singles class. Justin Anselmi, California's Justin Anselmi at the top spot, 1:07.52, and then Chad Coast, another California rider. Declan Bender on his own personal 450 up there third. Chase Sadoff, slid down to fourth. Then Hunter Bauer had a good qualifying effort, and then another, newer name to us, Reese Podorf in sixth. Drain, who was so fast here last year, seventh. Cage Tadman, the rookie who won last weekend, is eighth. Ian Wolf, the first rider to find the high line last year. And then Taryn Santero running extra top 10. Taryn got his first podium of the season last week.
Yeah, Justin Anselmi making an amazing lap, almost 1.5 tenths better than Chad Coast there. Chad Coast following him around the track. Definitely some rubber getting laid down now at this point in the day. They're starting to get a defined line, and they're able to take advantage of being a later session, not being in the Group 1 of the 450s.
All right, let's check in with Kristen. She's got some more on this.
Yeah, I actually just walked back and talked to Justin, and I said, where did that lap come from? He said, I'm just really focused on rolling the corners and getting good corner speed. But he said after finishing 8th in Ventura, he was hungry, quote unquote. He said, my buddy swept the entire night, so it's time for me to step it up. He's a really good friend of Cage Tadman's, so a little pressure coming from the fan core over here, the fan group.
Yeah, I think, when your friend goes fast and you grew up racing with him, it kind of makes, oh, I can do that too, right?
Or competitive people, man, whether it's playing a board game or anything, being a racer, you're so competitive and you want to lose at absolutely nothing. So especially with your friend coming out his first event ever and just making it happen, winning everything, getting an absolute perfect day.
And that's just, sometimes you just unload out of the truck and have a day like that, but it hardly ever happens in your first ever attempt.
Hardly ever. It took me 4 years, and I only was able to do that one time at Sacramento Mile. I was able to have a perfect day with fast qualifying. We actually got a red flag in the session, and I was back in like 8th or 9th, and Andrew Butler told me, he said, when the red flag came out, he said, hey, get behind these guys. I slungshot by, fast qualified, won the heat, and then I was able to win the main event. Really special day for me, and Andrew kind of turned our 2018 season around.
Yeah, getting that first win is huge. It's huge for him. It's huge for the sport. He's the 4th rider to win his first attempt in that class, or what used to be the GNC2 class. But, the Kentucky Derby was just a little bit ago. We're not going to give anything away, but your fiance's horse won, so she won a trophy?
Yeah, we've got a mantle of trophies at my house in the basement. Nice little exhibit there with my bike and everything. We've got all of my trophies, and we've got her trophy from 2023. Of her winning the Kentucky Derby. She run it back 2025. So if you're listening at home, we'll find a nice little spot for your horse trophy.
Okay, good. Well, earlier today, Kristen went around, talked to some of the riders, and figured out if they could name their motorcycle after a racehorse, or if they could give their motorcycle a horse racing name, what would it be? Let's check it out.
Guys, so we're here for round 5 of the Progressive American Flat Track Series in Chico, California, but it also happens to be Kentucky Derby weekend, so we are going to talk about horse names.
Old Betsy. Something like, hope it works.
Your horse's name?
Our horse's name for this weekend is Black Betty.
Noble Steed. White Light. White Light. Our horse's name is Mellow Yellow.
Trust the setup.
This is Victoria. This is Angelica, and we've got one in trailer named Morgan.
White Lightning and Panty Dropper.
Medical, this one, Honda from Down Under.
Our horse's name is Southern Pride.
We had Bubbles, Ricky, and Julian.
Oh, but you can't put it on TV. And it's a money strategy.
Just having some fun down there in the pits. Did you name your motorcycles? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I was in
that
there,
was
Scotty.
I know I saw that, but I didn't know if that was what you really had
Andrew
names for your
Butler
motorcycles.
And we put stickers on our handlebar for characters of a TV show that we liked, and the characters were Ricky Bubbles and Julian.
I guess I never named any of my motorcycles.
I had a lot of names, but those three really stuck out because we put stickers on my Harley Davidson XG750R was named Appa from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay.
Appa was a flying bison. So we had a flying bison sticker on my Harley. We flew that thing right into the wall, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one? In Missouri?
Yeah, $17,000 in damage.
In a trash can.
It was bad.
And how much leg work do you have to have?
You heard it cracking last night. We really
that's horrible.
tested that thing out.
You need to take some of that stuff out of there.
We need to put a little, what are those grease things called? A grease fitting? Yeah. I need a grease. I need one of those on my ankles so we can tune her up every once in a while. Oh, that's good.
All right. Kristen had a name also, I think. Kristen?
I'm so surprised to hear you guys never named your bikes. And just for matter of fact, most of the riders do have names for their bikes. Only a few had to take a stretch and name their bikes. But a couple summers ago, I went through a phase. I started riding a little bit again on a little Honda CRF, and I named it My Little Pony. And thanks to Jeff Emick helping me out with getting a graphics package for that little Honda bike, it even said My Little Pony on one of the side panels. So, yeah. We had a bike name for me. It was My Little Pony.
Kristen, you've got some 1 horsepower machines. What are they named?
Oh, yeah. Well, they have a couple horsepowers. So I've got Hope, who is our rescue girl at home in North Carolina. And, of course, when we got her, she had a little baby inside of her, and we named him Chief. And so we've got Hope and Chief, our little 1 horsepower guys.
But the story about Chief is amazing because Hope ran away.
The night she was pregnant, you're right.
She was pregnant.
So Hope was a rescue horse. And when we adopted her, we didn't realize that she was pregnant. She was so emaciated. She was in really bad shape. And we just figured, you know what? If we can extend her life for a little bit longer and make her comfortable, that's our goal. And sure enough, a couple months in, we found out she was pregnant. And she birthed a little baby. But the night that she gave birth, I went to the stable. She was acting kind of funny. She's a super, super calm horse. She was kicking at the stalls. So I took her out, led her into the arena that we have at the barn that we board at. And I threw her some hay, thinking maybe she just needs to walk it out a little bit. It was pretty hot. It was the middle of summer. And I turned around to go grab another flake of hay, and she busted out of the fence, ran down to the 73. I only found out after spending 2 hours looking for her in the dark that someone had posted on Facebook that there was a red mare running down the 73. I hop in the car. My mom met me at the barn. We made it down the road, saw flashing lights. I was crying hysterically, thinking that maybe she got hit by a car. We roll up, and the EMT has her with a tie down, feeding her snacks from his lunchbox. And because we didn't have a horse trailer at the time, at the moment, they offered me a little police escort to walk her back the 2 miles or whatever it was, back to the barn with a police escort. We plop her down there. I tried to get a little shut-eye, and within an hour she started giving birth. And so showed up at the barn, and we had a healthy baby Chief there, and that is where his name came from. The police chief was actually the first officer on the scene, along with the EMT.
I just love that story. I'm glad you got to tell it for everybody else.
What a mess.
Too. It is a mess, but it's a good story. And that's, when you earn a name like that, it's incredible. And I guess Brad Jones on the other end of the truck has a name also for his horse. Brad, are you going to tell us? The Cat Rental Store. We're looking at some old cat equipment right here. This is old. It says Caterpillar on it. That's before they even shorted it to Cat.
The closest thing I can bring to that is when I was 16, my parents, they allowed me to move out to Illinois, and I moved in with the Mayer family. And so they lived on a cattle farm. And one of the night, the cattle got out. And so we're trying to get this cow back into the fence, and they say, hey, just stand in front of it if it comes at you.
No,
I
thanks.
go, what are you talking about?
Nope.
Stand in front of it.
Nope.
It was a beast. So I was letting, they handled that.
Yeah, I'm not standing in front of no cow.
That was an experience. I've done a lot, man. Racing really gets you out there, gets you out of your element, and you learn a lot of life lessons quickly.
Yeah, was that the same trip where you blew up the van on the way to the Devil's Bowl?
Different trip.
Different trip.
That was bad.
Line them up for our final round of qualifying. The fast time for the first round was James Ott, 17.835. The bikes are rolling. This is group number 1. Will anybody top that speed?
Garen, I'm putting a personal stamp right now. We're going to get faster than that. The track's got some rubber. I did talk to Briar Bauman just a minute ago, and he said the first couple laps are a little bit slippery just because they put some water down on top. So it takes them a few minutes to kind of scuff off the water. Let's see which of these riders were watching that last singles group to see to go where the rubber is, because I believe, you know, you want to go exactly where we just saw with Justin Anselmi and Chad Coates riding those lines.
Green flag is out. Final round of qualifying. This will get him into a heat race, and I would think I'd want to be the fastest 8 to guarantee myself a front row spot.
Yeah, and Briar Bauman, he's had some difficulties these past 2 rounds getting himself on the front row for the main event. Briar immediately goes up to that line coming off a 2. So we'll see what happens here as they're starting. You know, Briar did say that they kind of got to scuff off the water, scuff off the track a little bit. Now it should be coming in, and it looks like they're all riding about that same line where we saw Jacob Lehman riding in that last session.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just looked like Briar just dropped down to a little bit lower line than he was running the first few laps.
Yeah, and Briar Bauman already down to a 17.742, which tops our time from Q1. So they're finding some time out there.
Briar is at least on the Harley-Davidson number 3. Briar Bauman, our quick time right now, as Dallas had a little bobble right there, huh?
Briar did too. It looked like they're fighting it a little bit there, trying to come out, trying to find some consistency. The track, although there is rubber down, still a very slight variation in the color, so hard to see exactly where to go. Brandon Robinson fighting it coming in there.
And fighting
too
it right
high
there in
up
the
on
middle,
the track,
too.
loses the rear end, not able to bring it back down. He was coming in a lot higher than we saw with Jacob Lehman. I think that's the line. I think you have to sacrifice a little bit on entrance right now to really capitalize a good line. Briar Bauman, the only guy that's been able to beat that lap time.
For sure. So maybe that high line might come in later, as Daniels goes up to second now on this in this round, 17.894, but that's only good enough for 3rd overall, as Ott's time from the first round still really strong. There goes Van de Kooi, who was fastest in the first 2 practice sessions. Did they not keep up with the changes, or is it because it's drying out, it's a little bit slicker?
I'm just very surprised these guys aren't riding that line. Max Whale in the line that I'm talking about, coming off a 2, and he's up to 2nd on the racetrack right now in this session of qualifying. Yeah,
Maxwell up to 2nd place, and at 2nd overall. That is combined, so 2nd for Maxwell on the Royal Enfield, 17.810.
It's a little bit hard for me right now to analyze it, just because I'm able to watch this on the screen. And back in the pits, it is tougher to be able to watch. You know, you're on an iPad, it's a small screen, and you're doing so much stuff. You're trying to relay information to your mechanics, so you're not able to watch. But I think Max Whale must have talked with Johnny Lewis, and he knew exactly where to ride, because that was the line. The track is faster right now. You just have to be in that spot.
This could be a good benefit for Ott in this 2nd group, because that wet stuff that you just talked about, Briar, that's been pushed off by that 1st group. So this could be a very fast session for this 2nd group, and we got some more horse names coming in. We'll get to that in just a second.
And James Ott, he already was starting to ride in that line, especially in 3 and 4, where a lot of these guys were struggling as far as the singles. They were trying to find that comfortable spot. James has the line coming off of turn 2 there, but he's also in the proper line here. He's a little bit high there that lap. Gonna lose
Did he cook it off in the corner a little bit too hot?
Yeah, he could have cooked it in there a little deep.
James Ott on the G&G Racing Yamaha.
Max Whale still up in 2nd. That's a great run for him, finding that comfortability like we had talked about on that Royal Enfield, trying to really solidify his position in this Mission Super Twins class.
You know, last weekend at Ventura, when he got to 3rd, he said he looked up, and it's people that he looked up to his whole life, and he kind of started freezing up a little bit, got a little stiff. Now he's got a taste of that, Colby. It should be easier when he gets up there next time.
It's very tough. I never overcame that. Whenever I'd get up next to a guy, the very few times that I would ever be up near, say, Jared Beast, man, that was so tough. But if ever I was in a battle with Dallas Daniels, even though he was faster than me, I just was a lot more comfortable because I grew up with him.
Watching Dan Bromley's foot, my dad used to teach me this. When he's not on the brakes, he just makes a wobble right there. But right here, he's got his right foot completely turned sideways, and then he turns it back to the left to put his foot on the brake pedal. My dad always told me, if you're not using that brake, get your foot off the brake. That way there's no chance in dragging it. Dan's he's got big feet. Yeah. You can see how much he's moving that right foot. It's completely turned right just a little bit right there. Oh, he gets up out of the saddle.
Yeah, very uncomfortable this session for him. Hasn't really been able to get a good lap in so far, even though he put down that 18.129. The last 2 he struggled a bit, but to touch on your point, it all depends on who really teaches you early on in your career. I did spend a lot of time with Mike Hacker at the Ride Academy, and that was one thing that we actually did the opposite of what you're talking about. We always covered our brake pedal because it can allow the chassis to be stable. Now, a guy like Brandon Robinson you've seen for the past couple rounds, that brake rotor is going to glow red because he's using the brake the whole way around the track. A guy like Jake Johnson always used to do that as well, Kenny Coolbeth. But then you have new style riders that are moving their foot off.
Here's a replay of Dan Bromley getting a little bit sideways, getting it really sideways. Stood him upright, and he went up to the the wetter stuff and just kind of backs off, and he'll take it back to the pit area. And he's the only Suzuki racing with us. They had some clutch issues at the Lodi Cycle Bowl on Thursday night, and Dan just struggling just a little bit. 9th quick so far overall, so he'll be in the main, but probably won't be on the front row as we are done qualifying for our Mission Super Twins. Up next is the running of the bulls making their way to the racetrack.
Here we go for our final qualifying session for the running of the bulls.
So the bulls are on the racetrack, but there's a lot of other brands out there. Oh, the 32 almost comes up out of the saddle. That is the 32 of Dan Cahoon. He had issues just a little while ago.
It's go time, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, it definitely. And these guys, this is their qualifying effort too. They're 12 bikes, so they're going to be on rows of 3 when we get to a heat race. So you don't want to start deep in the field. Take a look at the replay. Watch the 54 and then the 32 and the second bike.
32 gets a little loose there. Ooh, hits one of those soft spots. Bike rebounds back up underneath him.
Yeah, some 50-year-old suspension doesn't quite, cooperate like the modern 450.
What moves better, the 50-year-old suspension or the 50-plus-year-old body?
Yes. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard, to get going. A lot of these riders ride all the time. The 54 out there, it's Brian Berna. He had a good night at Lodi as well.
Grinning ear to ear under those smoke shields, I'm sure of it, getting ready for a night here in front of the fans at the Silver Dollar Raceway.
Yeah, for sure. Some of them are actually racing tomorrow again at Cycle Land. There's, 4 days in a row of racing up here. If you like motorcycle racing, there's a bunch of it. And 33's on the move right now. That's Ken Nito.
Speaking of Mike Hacker,
yeah, he messaged us.
He sent us a text about his horses. He had Mrs. Jackson and Johnny 5.
Johnny 5 was the robot on a movie. That's probably way before your time.
A little bit.
And then Mrs. Jackson, Outcast has a song. Yeah.
Outcast.
Yeah.
What was that show we were talking about yesterday? Lucy?
What?
We were talking about some show yesterday. It's black and white. You said you used to watch it every day after school.
I'm not that old, Kobe. Yeah, sorry, Miss Jackson. I am for real. There you go.
Yeah,
see,
I won't even try on that.
And the rider Q&A session's at 5:30. I said 6:30 a few moments ago, so that'd be at 5:30 when practice and qualifying is all done right there in the front of the grandstands. Checkered flag is out. Jonathan Schaefer, fastest in all of the sessions. 1:08.498. It's almost. That is his best time from the first round, so maybe he didn't even go out there. I don't know if I saw him out there. So,
Scotty, let's touch back on the twins. What an interesting dynamic with really Briar Bauman being the only rider that was able to capitalize. Max Whale was able to go faster than James Ott, but Briar Bauman really put something together by a few tenths of a second.
Yeah, he figured it out. And like you said, you went and talked to him, is a little bit slippery out there, so it didn't seem to bother him.
Yeah, and I was looking in his tuners, David Michelle, they were doing some front-end adjustments on the bike, but Briar Bauman going to be fast qualifier for the Mission Super Twins tonight, followed by Max Whale and then Dallas Daniels. James Ott does fall back to 4th, but he's going to get a front row start on the G&G Yamaha.
On the racetrack right now, the final round of qualifying for the AFT Singles presented by Kicker Class. It's Drain out front. It's Bruce Evans jumps in behind him on the 26 bike. Bruce Evans got his first challenge win. That was at Sonoy. Today's challenge race is brought to you by Helmet House in the AFT Singles class.
Great company. Very, very personal with my family just because my parents' dealership back home selling helmets. They do a lot of business with helmets, showy helmets. They sell a lot of those through Helmet House.
We talked to your dad earlier today. The KC Helmet House was popping.
Yeah, we said we were going to call him up, but he not quite ready for that interview yet.
How about Renshaw to the top spot in this round so far? Renshaw in the 65. That is too tall, Evan Renshaw.
I was talking with Butler earlier. That's Evan Renshaw's mechanic, who was also Cody Kopp's championship-winning mechanic. And he said he just really needs to, get out of his own head a little bit. He's got so much talent and so much ability, but he just kind of has to piece it all together.
And it's hard. It's his second season on that 65, moving up. He's
different chassis.
Yeah, he's on a completely different chassis than when he grew up, and he's kind of under the tutelage of Corey Texter. I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the 65 number. He used to be number 265 when he first came in. Trevor Bruner rises to the occasion out here. Goes to second quick overall, fastest on the racetrack. The 21 of Blackjack is in the top spot. Is on the Turner Honda. He is right behind Renshaw, so maybe has somebody to chase after the 21. 17.553. Santero goes right back to the top spot.
We are getting close, and Terrence Santero will be the first one to pass Justin Anselmi's lap time. Trevor Bruner will pass it too, both of them getting into the 17.5. So it will be Terrence Santero up front, California native, but Trevor Bruner says not yet.
They're going
and then
back
Terrence
and
goes
forth,
back and
yeah.
forth. They are one-upping each other here on these Hondas.
75 and 21 going back and forth. Again, both of them on the Hondas. If you're looking at the left side of the screen, 17.476 for Santero. Bruner, 17.497.
I want to say it.
Oh, that didn't last very long.
They're going back and forth like an argument.
And here comes, for just a moment, a split second. Bruce Evans had the quick time. Santero goes faster on that very last lap.
3-4-1, Scotty. The track is speeding up every time. We talked about it earlier. It is going to get better and better as the night goes on.
I'm not writing it down just yet because that was pretty quick. And Selmy was fastest in Q1. That was the 15 bike. He'll be the first one out. He's a 17.582. And now we've got three, it looks like 5 riders are faster than that as Group 2 moves on to the racetrack. And Selmy, who is fastest, he leads them out on the 15 bike. Coast jumps right in behind him, so 2 California riders out front. You know, if I was racing ever, there was a National Oklahoma City, which had only happened a few times when I was racing the Oklahoma City half mile. It gives you extra fuel. You want to go out there. It doesn't matter if it's your home city, but your home state. You want to do good at home.
It was cool. I did a few races in New York near my house, actually, in Weedsport. And when I was racing, I was going up against Shayna Texter. Shayna Texter always had so many cheers with the crowd, such a huge fan favorite. Doing what she was doing against the guys was so impressive. Her ability was amazing. The only place where I could get cheers almost as loud as her was New York.
Yeah.
The crowd, so that fueled me a lot. I really enjoyed racing in New York in front of a home crowd.
Canandaigua, New York is where you're from, up there in the Finger Lakes region.
Finger Lakes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful area, not the city. Not to be confused. And Selmy here, let's see if he's able to. I wonder if he was able to get a look at the times before he went out. He did better his time already, going with a 17.443. So let's see if he's going to be able to get up to Terrence Santero. Chad Coast goes to second with a 17.365. The track is getting quicker. Hunter Bauer with a 17.386.
Hunter Bauer grew up, you know, in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Raced Welland a lot, maybe a little slippery groove track. Maybe that's helping him out here.
I agree with that statement. I never made it up to Welland, but I do think the slipperiness there is helping. I think the track's getting grippier and grippier.
But Jason on the other side of the track said it was actually the 2-pound burrito he had from the food truck earlier, giving him the traction to find the speed to go to the 3rd spot.
Speaking of burritos, I did get confirmation from First Impression, who's Chad Coast, currently in 3rd owner, that the fish I ate was fresh. But Declan Bender from Illinois up to 2nd right now on the privateer bike. He is here alone. He does not have any of his family with him. He took the trip out. He's been staying with the Catarses and up to 2nd right now. And that's 2nd overall.
And Selmy makes a bobble right there. Coast goes on through.
Selmy off the pace here.
I don't know if he caught his knee right there or what happened, but he stepped out of the way, and here comes Chad Coast to the checkered flag, and Selmy's off the pace right now.
I was wondering if maybe he was trying to tuck in with Chad, but that was the last lap, so hopefully he didn't catch his leg.
75, 17.341. We have one more group to go.
And then to touch on Taryn really quick, we talked to him. I really said, man, you're a quarter way through the season. It's time to get it going. In Ventura, he gets the podium. Now, fast qualifying, so it's go time.
And Sadoff, fastest in the first 2 rounds of practice. He's way down there right now. The 88 is down there in 16th, so they either didn't make changes to their motorcycle or went the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be tough to recover from. 16th.
Final group of qualifying coming onto the racetrack right now for your AFT Singles presented by Kicker Class. The quick time is a 17.341 from T-Money. Terrence Santero got his first podium this season last weekend.
Yeah, and Chase Sadoff, he's going to really be watching the phone tight right now to hope that he doesn't go back any more spots, because if he goes back to 17th, that's a 3rd row starting spot for the heat race.
I didn't even think about that.
That's tough to come back from in the heat race. Yes, you can still make it up to the transfer spot.
Honestly, Lehman can do it. Wolf can do it. There's a few of these riders that can jump past him.
A lot of these riders, because the track is just getting faster and faster with every wheel that goes by.
Lehman leads him on the 114. Shelby Miller, the 145. Wolf is there on the 57.
You can really see the rubber. Earlier I mentioned how the variation in the color's not quite there yet. Coming off of turn 2, you really see the difference between the blue groove and the light brown rubber. Track's going to be completely different. So after this session's over, they're going to reset the track, get it ready for the night show. Moisture's going to come up, sun's going to start going down, temperatures are going to drop, Scotty.
Here comes Ian Wolf looking up the inside. Shelby Miller going off into turn number 3, the 57.
Ian Wolf needs to get by Shelby, a little bit more speed right now, trying to get a clear lap.
Chase is down to 18th right now.
Yeah, that's going to be 3rd row for the heat races. Cage Tadman, 14th so far. Jacob Lehman and Ian Wolf, fastest 2 riders on the track. Jacob Lehman up to 10th place.
The top 4 riders, 4 different brands.
I feel like we say that a lot, and I'm loving it.
I do too. It's the parity, and that's what we've seen that the last few years in the singles class. It's more prevalent now in the Super Twins class.
Yamaha's 4th through 7th right now. Yeah, Honda, KTM, Husqvarna, Yamaha, Gas.
Yeah. The front of the truck is saying, how about no Suzukis in this singles class? There's only one Suzuki in the Twins class, Dan Briley, but there's still Suzukis out there.
Yeah, there's 2. The problem there is that's not the front of the truck. That's actually the back of the truck. But no Suzuki 450s out here. The last time we saw one of those would have been Chad Coase on the Wally Brown Suzuki, which was amazing, and they were able to get a win on that at Daytona Short Track a few years ago.
How about the Battle of the Bulls guys sending me messages up here that Dan Cahoon blew the spark completely out of the bike. He's got that thing fixed for the rest of the night.
You know my van you were talking about on the way to Texas?
Yeah,
that's what
it did. Yeah. Did you Healy coil him back in there?
No, the guy, long story.
Did you left it in Illinois, if I remember?
No, we got it home. It was expensive.
Whatever. Here's a look at qualifying round number 2. This is the second round. I'm not sure. It doesn't say overall. So it's Santero, Bender, Chad Coase, Bauer. So 4 different brands. This is overall qualifying. I'm sorry about that. This is the overall times. So Bauer, a good solid finish. Aiden Roosevans and Selmy, the California rider's fastest in Q1. He's 6th fast overall. Drain, Bruner, Cole Fredrickson had a wild get-off last weekend, and Jacob Lehman on the 114 riding out your top 10. And again, you pointed out that the Chase Sadoff, back there, here he is, 18th. Ryan Wells. He was listed had a white spot beside him. I'm not sure what bike he's riding. Is he riding a KTM?
It's a gas.
Oh, it is a gas.
Bike.
You're right. Yeah.
Every lap time up until 12th. So everyone from Ryan Wells up was able to best Justin Anselmi's lap time from Q1. So the track definitely was getting faster. A lot of these guys getting down to the 17.5s.
Now Sadoff goes all the way back to 20th. So that's going to be a deep hole to dig out of, because those heat races are only 8 laps. You have to get in the top 6 spots. He is aggressive, and maybe that will just,
it can go either way.
Get him to go faster. So that's all the racing action on the racetrack until 7 o'clock is opening ceremonies out here West Coast time, and the Q&A session for the riders is now right around 5:30. Give us a few minutes to get those riders to the front straightaway. And for you folks that are tuned in at home on FloRacing, you'll see some encore presentation of some older races. And for you folks that are here, enjoy. Go see what's going on in the midway. The Q&A session happening right there on the front straightaway with about 6 of our riders. Opening ceremonies at 7 o'clock. Our first heat race will fire up the line right around 7:20 p.m. You're watching the Silver Dollar Short Track, round number 5 of Progressive American Flat Track.
In the Progressive American Flat Track Series opener in Daytona, Dallas Daniels was making everyone feel blue.
Dallas